Hey everybody, how's it going? It is time for a RambleCast, last I heard. This is September 13th, 2023. I'm Cody Toombs, and there's a Corbin in the room.
Hello. Corbin is very tired, as usual. But somehow even more. I keep finding new ways to be tired.
It's right there with you. Um, Austin, it's funny you bring that up because that's very much going to be a topic. Um, Wait, did I? Now that I think about it, I'm not sure I ever actually posted that to Mastodon. Um, Recycled jokes don't count. Oh,
Shut up. That's
oh,
terrible.
I accept it. It's fair. Um, no, it's been it's been a week. All those weeks that I come on here and say, "Wow, there really just hasn't been that much news. It's kind of been a dry week." Well, here they are. We got all of our
The
news
dam
in
the
one
dam
effing
burst.
week.
Yep.
Um, so for those that haven't heard, fun fact: Apple did some stuff, but not just Apple. Apple was just one of many, many news things that happened this week, and holy crap, were there some things. So we're not going to get to everything. I think that's a given. Um, but we are going to get to a few things. So, uh, just to let's see, where do we want to go first? I feel like a little bit of rage talk is warranted first. Just to get it out of the way, but also because we should talk about it, and saving it for the end seems like a bad idea. So some of you may have heard about Unity. Um,
Oh,
Gamers in particular have definitely heard of Unity. Also, anyone who just uses like 3D applications, like 50-50 odds, you've probably used something that uses Unity. Um, I don't think I need to explain Unity to this audience because obviously, like everybody knows.
it's just one of the big game engines. That's all you need to know.
Pretty much. Well, yeah. Uh,
It's probably like I don't know if there's a second most popular one that's like it's really like in terms of engines that like you can license and aren't just like internally built by a studio that they don't really share. It's like Unreal and then Unity, and that's kind of the big two.
yeah.
Increasingly, just Unreal, which is probably why we're here today.
Well, I would also argue because of this story, Unreal is about to get way more usage. Holy crap, is Unreal about to explode in usage. So, yeah, Unity has decided to update its pricing and packaging policies. Um, and the whole story is a bit more complicated. There's a lot of other details. They're basically including more stuff in what they package, and they're trying to spin this as a generally positive thing. Um, However, they made an interesting change to their revenue system and basically the policies that they have with it. So, for any software that is distributed using Unity and includes the Unity library, you basically Unity has always had kind of this policy of you have to once you've made a certain amount of money and had a certain number of lifetime game installs, then uh, at that point you start getting charged. Well, they're tweaking it now. Um, and the particular ways that they're tweaking it, I don't actually have handy. I was going to look that up. I completely forgot, I admit. Um, but they basically are setting. Oh, that's right. They're now going to charge per install once you get over a certain threshold. And this is now going to become a well, let's just say they're sort of backporting this charging. As somebody has called out on Twitter, because we're not going to call it that other name, which is dumb. Um, they specifically called out a section from the FAQ that specifies that the fee for games is going to be per install on any game, or sorry, any software. I should take care not to call this just games, because Unity does get used for other software. But it's going to be for every install that comes over the threshold, period. And it is counting historically. So games that have been installed over the years, every new install is going to be charged. This is all retroactive. They're basically trying to force a bunch of game studios to pay really, really high fees in perpetuity for anything that they've done, as long as they've had enough installs in the first place to hit the threshold. So this is horrible. It is absolutely disgusting as a policy. And fundamentally, I can only think this is a bait and switch, period. Like, legally speaking, they did a bait and switch. They basically offered one license and have now pulled that and automatically replaced it with a new license.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other like smaller changes in addition to this where like I don't like have a full context of it, but it does seem accurate to say that this makes a lot of game distribution options impossible if you want to like come close to making any money. Like I saw someone brought up like might not see a Unity game on like Humble Bundle ever again, because that would be a lot of money per install. I mean, I know obviously like a lot of people get those bundles and just never install them like Steam games, but it's still gonna be money. There was one game developer, I'll see if I can find it, who, okay, yeah, this was from Agro Crab, which is developing another Crab's Treasure, which is going to be on Game Pass in 2024, but yeah, they said in this statement, if a fraction of those 25 million Game Pass subscribers download our game, Unity could take a fee that puts an enormous dent in our income and threatens the sustainability of our business. And that's before we even think about sales on other platforms or pirated installs of our game, or even multiple installs by the same user. That's the other thing is like, if I buy a game and like I'm gonna like probably install it several times over the course of like
I've been disconnected? What the hell? I don't know what just happened. Unity. Jitsi just disconnected me for some reason.
Okay. Well, I was just saying, like, you know, I will uninstall a game sometimes if my computer or console's running low on storage, and then install it back again later, and maybe do that a couple of times. Like, each time, that's presumably going to charge the developer. So I mean,
if
like,
you ever wanted to sink a company, you could very literally just download and install a game, uninstall it, and rinse and repeat dozens, hundreds, thousands of times.
One thing I hadn't thought of is, how does this work with cloud gaming? Because like, because like I don't really know how this is supposed to work anymore. I know like how GeForce Now used to work is that it effectively like installed the game in Steam every time you wanted to play it, but I don't know if that's how it works now, because now there's like tighter integration. It's not just a PC or remote desktoping into, but maybe that still counts as an install if like you open it on Game Pass streaming. I don't know.
Or what would happen if you, let's say, created a virtual machine and then duplicate that virtual machine like 50 times for whatever purpose, maybe some sort of automation testing or something. Every single time that you perform the first run of that game, would it not probably trigger this and count as an install? I'm assuming,
Yeah.
the actual install itself is not literally what's triggering this. It's probably a first run action. And yeah, so I'm assuming that even that sort of process, you're probably going to get dinged. So, to be fair, I don't think we know exactly how this is implemented. They're calling it installs, but it is possible maybe what they mean is installs in the same way that they're defined by the Play Store, like Google Play Store, where an install is just really the customer. It's only counting a customer. It's not actually counting every single time that they download and install the app. And maybe it won't count pirated stuff because pirated stuff doesn't go through any of the stores or selling points. Technically, we don't know this.
Okay.
They're taking wording
Yeah,
a little liberally, but
I just went. I'll put this in the YouTube chat, but I just went to go check the Unity Twitter account again because I saw they posted something there yesterday. Oh, I got banned from the chat. I will send it to you.
you got banned for the chat?
It said error when I tried to paste the link.
Is everything broken today?
That happens
Apple-
if I say hi. Okay, I can say hi. I just can't share links. Anyway.
Can you?
Oh nope, it says error. Try again.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I
I don't see any message from you.
try again. Hello.
No.
Okay.
Eh,
All right, that's fine.
Could you try refreshing?
I did.
Um,
Okay, cool. Anyway, so in this very long message, again, like, great. It's a great policy when you have to do like 4 follow-ups. But on this one, they say we are not going to charge a fee for reinstalls. Again, questionable what reinstall means. Like, if it, I'm sure that means on the same PC, but like what happens if you change the PC, because that can change some of those hardware identifiers or cloud gaming. Okay, they say they say we are not going to count web and streaming games toward your install count, and also early access and demos don't count. The pricing, charge, and install count will not be applied to your charity bundles / initiatives. So Humble Bundle is actually fine. Sorry for spreading fake news.
This sounds very much like an Elon
It's a
Musk
great-
level. We
It is a yeah.
we said some things we wanted to see what people raged out over, and we're apologizing for the things that people raged enough over. That's what I'm getting off this.
Yeah. Again, like, kind of zooming out of the specifics here. It's hard. Like, there's a lot of game developers complaining about this, and it does really seem like Unreal Engine looks a lot more attractive. The problem, of course, is like a lot of these studios already have games built on Unity, or they're working on a game on Unity, like the one I just said. Or, again, like, one of the reasons a company sticks with an engine for forever is because they have entire teams of people who have used Unity for forever and know what they're doing and don't need to be retrained on something else. So now, like, all of that institutional knowledge is going to be worthless if they switch to something else. But
Yep.
yeah, cost of retraining those people might be less than whatever Unity wants. So seems shitty.
Yeah.
To say the least.
And it's I totally get it. Sometimes companies have to, like, their business model is not really working, or they're not getting enough success out of what they're doing. And hey, yeah, sometimes you have to make the hard decisions like that. This smells either of desperation or greed. It's unclear which, but it's it's a problem either way.
Oh, I can send messages now. Okay, we're good.
Okay, that's good. I was just yeah, I'm looking. I was looking, trying to see if like somehow you got banned or hidden or anything like that.
Don't know.
But I'm noticing YouTube Studio is really acting janky. Like I'm having trouble getting it to load sometimes. So I think YouTube's just maybe struggling over something. It's all those people watching a recap of the Apple event.
Yeah. So yeah, not great. Especially not great because Unity, it's not just a game engine. It gets used for other like 3D stuff too. Like Apple was talking about it when they were announcing the Vision Pro headset, because like that was one way to build like sort of cross-platform VR AR stuff. That's something that Unity's pretty good at. That's potentially torpedoed. I did see the idea spread around that like Microsoft or someone might try to swoop in and buy Unity to sort of like stabilize this market. Because again, that would keep games off of Game Pass if the developers are going to go negative money putting their game on Game Pass.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So who knows?
Yeah, and it it kind of has to be acknowledged that just for example, obviously you can't avoid charging somebody money just because, let's say, they distribute their game for free. An obvious example would be Fortnite, which yes uses Unreal and it's made by the same company that makes Unreal, so not the perfect example, but yeah, a game like Fortnite is distributed for free, and then it makes tons and tons of money off of in-app purchases. Obviously, you don't want to let things like that wiggle around the rules. But at the same time, you can't create a fee structure like this where somebody who just wants to distribute a game for, let's say, $5 or whatever, if they get that game out there, maybe less than that would be a better example, but whatever. Yeah, at a certain point, they're just trying to distribute a game. They might not be trying to make much money off of it, but then at least be able to pay the bills that come out of it. And this fee structure is kind of designed to make that impossible, or at least unrealistic. So yeah, this is going to get ugly. That is my strong hunch. This is going to get real ugly, as a lot of companies, I think, are probably going to make pretty rapid decisions to just abandon Unity. At least I would. Because Unreal is already an excellent engine. I would put a lot of investment into at least trying to find out if Unreal would be a realistic switch at this stage.
Yeah, and of course, like, scroll through the replies on this post, and a lot of devs who are still confused over what this means, and statement not being clear, and also just people still upset. So, who knows? Maybe this. I know there was one open source engine that people were throwing around that I'm sure is not anywhere near the feature set of something like Unity, but like, this is the kind of stuff that really helps those projects take off. So maybe this will be a nice little moment for open source software again, like we got when Twitter fucked up like 500 times. We got Mastodon in a better state.
I like that you chose the word moment for that, and then proceeded to name a thing where the moment has lasted a year.
The moment was a year. There are several moments. Time is nothing but,
It's one long moment. Every
another.
single day is another reason for people to avoid Twitter. I say this as I've got 2 or 3 Twitter tabs open. But hey, that's where people posted stuff. It's the way it works. Anyway, yeah, this is obviously a disaster. I think maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but I feel like this is going to very quickly prove to be kind of the end of Unity as a major engine. Like, I don't think it's going away, like, not entirely for sure, but I think we're gonna see, like, I don't know how many people see or follow this stuff, but uh like, I get surveys fairly often from a couple of different fairly large groups. They're like developer surveys, basically asking like what languages, what frameworks,
Right.
everything else, like what do you use, what is in your day-to-day job, and things like that. And pretty consistently you see like certain languages are always at the top. Sadly, Python is relentlessly hanging on despite how terrible it is. But C Sharp, Java, you see Kotlin on the rise. Swift is obviously getting pretty big. You see these names sitting at the top, and every couple of years you notice, oh hey, this one took like a 10% drop suddenly. This is kind of telling that it's maybe either on the way out or its relevance is going away. Maybe if this is what you're doing, you should probably start learning something else. I think any survey that is involving game engines, at the end of this year, we're going to see a whole lot of people saying, yeah, we're done with Unity. And is it going to be huge? Not by the end of this year. Is it going to be huge by the end of next year? I kind of think it will be. There are going to be a lot of developers saying, yeah, we're not using Unity anymore. Like, we're done with it.
Yeah, there's going to be a very, very slow trickle because a lot of modern games take years to develop. So even if a company was like today was like, we're not going to use Unity for any future projects, like there could still be a Unity game coming from them in like 5-6 years. So it's going to be wild, but I do think, yeah, like this is one of those times where like a company does something so stupid that like even if they like completely backtrack, you'd still be like, I don't think I want to go. I don't think I want to work with them because like I know if I'm a game developer or a game publisher or whatever, and I go look and see like the technology my company relies on, just try to pull a fast one on me,
Yep.
and take a bigger share of my revenue, I'd be like, no, I think we're done with them now. We're gonna move on to something else. Even if they were, tomorrow Unity might be like, all right, we fucked up, we're sorry. Like, nope, that's probably broken trust with a lot of
Yeah.
people in the game industry. Like, it's the exact same thing we see with like Google over and over again, where people just do not like every time Google has a new product, they're like, I'm not touching that. I know it's gonna go away in 2 years. I know how this goes down. I don't trust them. Now, big difference between free app or servers and whatever, and paid licensed game engine that my business will rely on. But that also means the intensity is different.
I'm going to draw another difference out of that. I actually agree. I think that's a good comparison, but there is one other notable difference with Google. you know that it's mostly incompetence or just foolishness that drove the decision to cancel a particular service or project or something like that. Whereas with Unity, what just happened is a blatant form of bad faith. They offered up something. I mean, this is why I described it as a bait and switch right from the start. This is actual bad faith. They came out with a thing. They put a license on it. They had terms for how you pay for it. People looked at it. They judged it. They assessed, hey, is this something that we're comfortable building our business around? And then Unity's like, oh, hey, never mind. You know what? We want to charge you differently. And everything you've put out and everything you're going to put out, after having made the decisions and made the investment, we're going to charge you more for it. That is the definition of bad faith terms. It is, generally speaking, actually illegal. So, or, well, civilly illegal. Um, so I genuinely do think that Unity is probably going to be facing. I wouldn't be surprised if there was class action lawsuits over this. At the very least, there will probably be lawsuits. And I would be shocked if Unity doesn't simply, like, whoever is willing to file a lawsuit against them, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just like, yeah, we're not even going to bother fighting you. Sure, we'll settle out of court. We just won't, we'll charge you under the old terms. And so you know, it's only going to be the small developers that can't afford to sue who are going to, sort of be forced into this, which sucks, but that's also just kind of how this usually goes. Also, hello to Carson, Diablo, Curvy, and Austin. Great having you in chat. So yeah, I think this is all really bad. Shall we venture forth on topics?
Sure.
All right. So, other things that happened yesterday. Well, sorry, I guess the Unity thing wasn't yesterday, but oh, whoa, what happened to my? OBS just goofed up and shrank my camera view. Okay, that's fixed, kind of.
I'm the star now. This is my show. Hello, I'm Cody. I'll be streaming for 17 hours straight. Welcome.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Fall Guys. Got my PS4 over here.
Your overheating PS4?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not an overheating PS4. I'm overheating, and there's a PS4 here.
Ah, yes. No, actually, that makes more sense. So I think most of the people watching, listening, hearing, reading, whatever, you probably caught that there was an Apple event yesterday. It was hard to avoid. We spoke at length about it in chat. Though very notably, the event ended and conversation about it ended like 10 minutes later. And then nothing was said for quite a while. Carson, the Apple event was actually kind of boring. I happen to agree. Especially in large part because some of the stuff that they did was so cringy and so lame. The skits, I think, were just horrendous. The acting is terrible. I even said it during the event. Like, the worst thing they can do is keep acting. Because none of these people are actors, and they're all really, really bad at it. Somehow they're actually worse, I think, than regular people would be if you just picked up a random person off the street and said, hey, here's $20, act. I think they would do a better job than what we saw yesterday. And that's not meant as a jab to Octavia Spencer just because she was not much better than them. Anyway. Incremental slowness galore. Nice. I like that. So let's see. Do we want to just hit like point for point what came out, or do you want to just, we didn't really discuss this or plan it out. Do we want to hit like the phones first or go through different products? Do we want to crap on the event at large and then pick out individual things?
I can talk about the event like generally, and then I guess we can go to phones.
Okay.
I will say, like, I had a knee-jerk reaction to this event initially, and then I thought about it more. I was talking to some people about it, and I'm like, it felt weird. Like, I think like my initial takeaway from this was like there was first of all, the event opened up with the mandatory like Apple Watch detected my, me having a heart attack, or Apple car crash detection saved my life, like that stuff. Like that's what we get every year. Which like I have trouble articulating how I feel about this because I don't want to be like, wow, Apple needs to stop bragging about it, because then you get into like, man, I wish those people were dead. I wish Apple wouldn't talk about it. That's that's not the place where I want to come from at all. Like obviously, like it's a good thing. It's just the way it's presented and the vibes are off. That's the most like accurate description I can give for these segments now. Is like it's just weird. Like there's always been a little bit of the element of like, buy our products or you will die in a car accident, or something like that.
I would argue
It's
that's
not.
only
It's
been in the
not.
last like 2 years.
Yeah, it's not. It's not entirely that. Again, like I'm really trying not to like shit on stuff like this where when it's not warranted. It's just it's weird, um, and I don't know. I don't have like a well put together thought for like exactly why it makes me feel weird, but it just kind of does. I don't know if it's because like this happens again every time.
Okay, I think I know actually. I wouldn't have known how to put it together until you just said all of that. And funny enough, I nothing of what you said explains why I thought of this, but it just hit me exactly why.
Okay.
We're here for product announcement, and they just presented us with something that is so directly like consumer marketing. And I know that that
I,
is
mm,
that's something Apple does all the time, but this felt more. This felt like the way that this style of marketing comes across. It's sort of like the hard sell that you get from a used car salesman or from an insurance salesman. It's a harder press, like you need to pay attention to how much we can save your life. That's different than what we've known from Apple in the past. Sure, they've sort of done the we're saving lives bit in the past, but this felt more like it doesn't matter what happens, you're in better hands with us than you are with anyone else. We're all state. Sorry. Um,
yeah, I don't know if like that's where I would go. Again, like I don't have a good explanation. It's just the vibes are off. That's where I'll end it. Yes, again, try not to be like super cynical, Corbin. No one likes that, not even me. But um,
well, speaking of super cynical,
right,
we're
kind of the
immediately going to
other.
attack another thing, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, gonna. I'm sure you were gonna go to this, but like kind of the other big impact with this event was the focus on green energy and
Yup.
more efficient production. And this is another thing where I had a knee jerk reaction, and it was getting some really weird replies on Mastodon, so I deleted it. Um,
Ooh.
but I so the like basic summary of this is that Apple wants to be carbon neutral by 2030. That's
It,
good. Like
it says that's the
Apple,
goal, yes.
right? That's the goal. Everyone's got a goal. Not very many companies actually seem to care about that goal. Um, and Apple spent a lot of time in this event talking about how they are getting closer to that goal. Um, they spend a lot of time highlighting how they're changing the production of their products to, if not be like fully like more in the direction of carbon neutral, but also more in the direction of like hopefully more ethical like mining, like mineral stuff. Like that's another thing that comes up a lot is like, yeah, it's good to have, fewer pollutants in the atmosphere, but it's also good to not have like child labor in poor countries mining minerals for your products. So that's another factor here. And like it came across a little bit as greenwashing, but I don't think I would now use that as a descriptor for this, because the difference here is like I'm like 100% jaded by everything related to this topic when it comes to like corporate communication, because every single company wants to lambast about them trying to be more, energy efficient, whatever. And most of the time, it's complete horseshit. Like it's just we're doing almost nothing, but we're going to say we're doing stuff because the youth cares about, you know, green energy and getting us away from fossil fuels. Because I personally, as a Gen Zer,
Uh, okay. Jitsi seems to have just kicked Corbin. What is happening today?
yeah, I don't know what that was. Anyway, as I was saying, um, as a Gen Zer, I would like to not choke on the air when I'm in my later years. That'd be cool. And also like the Earth to be still around. That's kind of cool. So a lot of companies will talk the talk but not walk the walk with this. I get the impression Apple is better than most companies in this regard. I think obviously they still have so much more to do, especially in relation with Foxconn. That's the other big thing here is like, yeah, it's great you're putting, you're powering your big donut with solar panels. Like that's cool and all. But also you're like Apple alone with how many iPhones it makes, and Foxconn is that's a that's got to be like an actual percentage of like pollutants in the atmosphere is like Apple product production. Like it's got to be a couple percent of like everything going into the air. So like there's a lot to be done there, and I get the impression from Apple that they care more than most other companies, in terms of like the scale. Like obviously for me it's easy to be like, my web apps were made entirely with clean energy, right? They're like coded on a laptop that powered up to a solar panel. The server's like a Raspberry Pi on a solar panel, whatever. It's pretty different at this scale. So I'm hesitant to say greenwashing because I think that gives the implication that like Apple is not doing anything, which it seems like they are. Again, I'm not an expert in like ethical minerals and energy production, so I'm not gonna like make an authoritative statement there. Um, I think where the presentation got weird here for me was number one, obviously the skit that was weird. Number two is that that presentation was like the most perfect example of why like uh, environmentally friendly practices and consumerism are like complete opposites. Like it's very hard to like make them uh, mix together, because like Apple for a while, like one of the things they talked about in this event for so long was look at our cases. We're not doing leather cases anymore because it's not as sustainable. We got new cases that are much better in that regard. Look, we've got Apple Watch bands that are like carbon neutral. That kind of we're using like more, better source materials in our phones, whatever. And they even showed like we're gonna put this sticker on our products of stuff that's like actually carbon neutral. But it's like, okay, that's carbon neutral, but you still want me to like buy it, which is what would I don't know the way to describe this, but like kind of like the most carbon neutral product is like the one you have right now in terms of devices like this. That's not I posted that on Mastodon and I got a bunch of reply guys that were like, oh, what if I drive like a diesel truck? Like, yes, it doesn't apply to everything, but like smartphones, sure. um it was weird to see them go back and forth several times during this thing where they were like, we're making our devices, like more ethically produced, and they're gonna last longer because they're like, you know made with this better technology materials, and we're like actually caring about repairing now. But then like also please buy everything, so we can still exist as a company. It was very weird seeing them go back and forth. Especially the other layer to this is that Apple has been hostile to the repair industry for a very long time, and they've only started to change that in like the last 2, maybe 3 years, maybe, and
And
like,
only
and
really
that
in response to being forced to.
right, yeah, exactly. Like under the threat of like legislation coming down, they're opening up slightly. Now
Well, and in
it's
some cases, it's only after the legislation actually
right,
happened. Like
right,
it,
yeah,
some of it they are pushing to the last minute to not do something.
right. So like specifically in regards to like repairing, I would give them the greenwashing label because like they have not got to like where they need to be. Like other smaller companies are like eating their lunch there. Like even Samsung, like I can go to iFixit right now and buy one of their like special verified like screen repair kits and fix the screen on my. I'm not gonna do it because I'm gonna fuck it up. But
Yeah.
someone else can. Someone else can. And like you just repair the screen, you're done. But Apple, you have to rent this giant honking stupid like press machine and do all this verification to make sure all the parts work. Like they're so far behind in that specific regard. So there, I'm okay making a statement that like yeah, they're not doing well. Um, the rest of it is like I guess it's fine. I literally said in the like work Slack like when they started this, I was like, when are they gonna say carbon offsets? I'm waiting for that. And they said it. They said it like 10 minutes late in the presentation. I'm assuming they've actually done their homework, but like from my impression reading about these is like even the most like legitimate like carbon offset is like still kind of bullshit because it all involves like planting trees that won't be fully grown for 30, 40, 50 years, whatever. um,
Technically, it does depend on how you're doing the calculations, and not every carbon offset is calculated the same way. But regardless of that, it, in general, buying carbon offsets is kind of dishonest anyway. It's
yeah,
not like that's actually fixing anything. You're literally just saying, I mean, look into the industry, and it's a whole lot of places that are saying, okay, you're paying us to literally just not cut down some trees,
right, yeah,
which that doesn't really mean anything. That's not helping the environment. That's literally just saying that you're committing to not making something even worse than you already did.
I know. That's called being the National Park Service. That's what you're doing, but
Yeah.
you turned it into a company.
Um
Like I can't wait until I buy a house that has like a small yard. I can be like, who wants carbon offsets? I will not cut this tree down. I promise.
legitimately, I've looked into this. No. For a
Cody's
piece of
carbon
property
offset.
that someone I know owns, unfortunately, it turns out that you can't start selling carbon offsets until you have 40 acres.
Oh,
I have very literally looked because someone I know has 10. Um, but yeah, this is yeah, it's a bad it's a bad process. It's just generally dishonest. And I mean, I think it's worth calling out because we're just talking about carbon offsets, but carbon is far from the only pollutant. There's so many other things, and Apple, being a tech company that deals particularly with a lot of batteries but a lot of other things as well, has a lot of other waste besides just carbon. It still feels very disingenuous to focus
right.
solely on carbon
How
when,
many how many lithium ion batteries are in a landfill somewhere?
yeah, and how much of that could be recycled better than it is, or put to secondary lives, sort of like, I believe we talked about this on a previous stream. Tesla's old car batteries. Tesla's doing nothing for this, but there's a company that is buying up old Tesla batteries, and they're just hooking it up as like a carryover for their power plants, or for power plants. So any excess energy just fills up these old batteries. It doesn't matter that the batteries are only able to store like 50% of their old capacity, which would no longer be good enough for a car, but it's great if you just hook it up to a big grid. You just have a container that can store power. It doesn't matter how small the container still is. It's good for storing power, and you can basically use those batteries down to the point that they're just lifeless husks, which is great. That is a phenomenal way to be using them. We're not seeing any of that with the smartphone industry, which granted a use case like that may be a little ridiculous, where no one's going to be taking smartphone batteries and hooking them up to a grid, but find a way to do something with this stuff and you're having a bigger impact. I also well, go ahead. I've got another thing in a sec, but
okay. Well, I was gonna say like also like that's why Tesla got to the way it is today because it was the place where like GM and Ford and everyone else went to go buy their like carbon credits, right? Where it's like we want to keep making giant polluting pickup trucks, but we need to make sure our net like carbon credit levels at this point. Who's making EVs? Oh, it's that guy over there. Let's buy some credits from that fine man who definitely isn't a racist on Twitter.
oh, if that was his only problem.
It's true. That seems like table stakes now. Everyone's racist on Twitter.
It's true.
You got to be more creative to stand out.
So, yeah, it's hard to take, honestly, it's hard to take so much of it seriously. But another thing that I made a joke about this in the AP Slack, and it's funny because when I first made the joke, I wasn't really being serious, and then as the more I thought about it, the more it occurred to me, oh crap, this is true. How like carbon neutral or how much environmental impact does Apple's event have? And at first I was just joking because they're sending all of their executives out to these remote locations, paying a bunch of actors to fill in these spots. They're trucking out a lot of equipment. Fun fact, the cameras alone that they're using for these events are not the cheapest or smallest cameras. Like, they're doing a lot of stuff when honestly all of this they could just be doing inside of the Apple Park showrooms. All the people who just showed up to work on that day could have just filmed their segments of the videos and been done with it, and there would be no big environmental impact, but they're doing all this stuff just to be showy. Okay, now is that a big deal? No, that's trivial. But all right, for a company that's talking up how they're trying to be so good to the environment, what about the fact that they've got journalists flying from all around the country and probably even a few from other countries to come to this event? They're flying, some are driving. Like, they've got all these people coming. Why? So that they can sit in a room, watch an 85-minute video on a screen, and then they walk 50 feet to the showroom or to the hands-on area that is poorly lit, because these things are never well lit. They make a crappy hands-on video that they're going to remake in a week at their own location using the review units Apple is going to hand over to them anyway. Why not just send the damn units out to these people so that they can make stuff at their locations the way they want to? No travel necessary. That's more environmentally conscious than making a bunch of people come spend their time at Apple's event location. That's stupid.
Right. This is the other thing where like environmentally friendly clashes with like showiness, and Apple would prefer to be showy. And also there's a lot of other stuff. Some of it does get into the like, you participate, you don't like society, but yet you participate in it kind of zone. But some of it doesn't, like the fact that Apple is currently like forcing a lot of their employees to come back to the giant, donut office for no reason. Like, again, how many products did Apple ship like during COVID with most of their employees at home? A lot. Can all of their employees work at home? Of course not. Like, some of them are doing like manufacturing stuff, but a lot of them can, as proven in the past, 2-3 years.
Yeah, Apple did not miss shipping any hardware. Granted, Google struggled a bit, but
partially because China was locking those people in the Foxconn factories until they finished making their iPhones. But
yeah, well, no one's saying this was a perfect solution,
right? Yeah, and Carson, was asking about the other automakers buying credits from Tesla. I did link a CNBC article that seems to summarize it. Okay, but the general gist is that like governments want every car maker to like limit the amount of carbon emissions for their vehicles, like all of their vehicles combined to a certain level. But they allow, in most cases, they allow the car makers to buy credits from each other to hit that limit. So basically, what can happen is that instead of GM cutting production of their most insane, polluting cars, they can keep making them, but they can buy credits from Tesla to even it out because Tesla's not making any cars that put off pollutants. So they have a ton of these credits. And those are worth a lot of money. And that's how Tesla got to the insane valuation it is today, just because of this stupid imaginary rule that does nothing. It's pretty incredible.
Not to take away from your point, but I would also argue there's a lot of reasons Tesla got to where it is today
Yes,
that are
yes.
equally crappy.
That is one of the bullshit reasons.
Yeah, the whole thing of getting government subsidies, not just the credits, but yeah, lots of other government subsidies, various contracts, tons of deals that only really happened because somebody hustled. It had nothing to do with the quality of the product or what they put out, or even acquiring customers. Yeah.
Yep.
So, not gonna hammer that
Yeah.
point anymore.
So yeah. In summary, I don't want to like just say greenwashing and then move on and be like a super snarky person. Aspects of what Apple is doing seems pretty good. Again, like obviously it's not going to happen overnight. 2030 seems like I mean, it's only 6 years, but um, some of this they're doing well, and other parts they're doing very poorly. So I'm kind of inclined to like make a snarky remark about it. Again, the offices thing is stupid. Um, the the other stuff like that is frustrating. In terms of like other things that they're doing, like Apple does actually support its devices for a pretty long time. I think they could do better, especially when it comes to Macs. I think that's where the main fault is. But like I did go back and check because someone on Mastodon thought they were being smart and thought that like Apple just immediately dumps all their phones in the trash after 2 years. Um, and the iPhone 6S from 2015 is still getting security patches. It's not getting major iOS updates, but that's a 8-year-old phone that's still getting security patches, which is unheard of in Android world. That doesn't happen
Yeah.
unless you go into the range of like you're flashing Lineage OS on your phone, but then you have other issues that you have to deal with, and it's not quite the same comparison.
So there's one of the subjects we're going to hit later. It's definitely not going to come up right away. But one of the other things that I think is problematic is Apple has a very, very, very strong tendency to release new products and kind of intentionally hamstring them. Like they don't include a particular feature or function that they very easily could, just with a software update, bring it to older phones. If you want to talk about like being environmentally conscious, how about not giving a false incentive to do hardware upgrades?
Right. This is the other thing where it gets back to like consumerism versus like doing the right thing, and they're going to lean towards consumerism because they are ultimately a for-profit company, and capitalism is broken. Um, and like I think like probably the best example of this, honestly, is just how long this USB-C transition has taken. They could have done this years ago, and then they could have for this entire time been like, look, like again, they were like the earliest OEM to try to go to USB-C on their Macs. Like before, really most like PCs had USB-C. They were shipping a MacBook with only USB-C. They got a lot of flack for it, rightfully so, because there was like one port. That's insane. Um, But like, they could have ripped that band-aid off on the iPhone years ago, and been like, look at how great we are. You can use all these other cables you already have from the Macs, and I mean, like literally what they said in the event. They're like, look, you can finally use all those USB-C cables you have from our other products. But no, they kept Lightning around because they can get licensing from it, and it literally took the European Union making legislation like almost entirely crafted at them, which is the best kind of laws. When you make a law that's very clearly aimed at one company, uh, like the U.S. making its only anti competitive laws because we need to break up General Oil, like that kind of stuff.
Careful, Corbin. You're stepping real close to endorsing DeSantis
Yeah,
against
it's
Disney.
true. Yeah, yeah.
Um. Oh wow, that stopped our thought
Sometimes,
process for a second.
yeah, you're right. Sometimes it's good. It's good. It's good when it. Well, I'm not gonna say that. Anyway,
I bet.
so, yeah, it's again. There's a lot of things I think Apple's doing better than most of the competition in this regard, and I think there's other things that they are doing worse.
What
Um,
I would say, and it's very much in agreement with you, but I would say almost everything that they did during the event to highlight what they were doing right, it was very much in that whole, hey, look at this thing so you won't notice this thing.
right.
Here's the thing over here. We don't want you to notice this. We don't want you to talk about it. We don't want you to think about it. But this thing's really super cool. Look at this. Please focus on this so we can keep doing this. Yeah. That's what that whole thing felt like. Literally the moment that I remember the moment that this really clicked with me was when they, during that terrible skit, when the one person said that they've replaced like thousands of mangroves in the Amazon or something. I don't remember if that's what it was exactly, but the moment that little part of the exchange happened, I'm like, oh, you really want us to pay attention to you planting trees? Why? What is the catch to this? What are we looking at this for so you can do something else? That's all I could hear, which I'm sure is not what Apple wants us to hear.
Yeah. So that's the thing that's happening. Again, wish they would try harder, but you know, it's capitalism for you. Um,
Yeah.
so
So
anyway,
speaking of
now,
capitalism,
while the Earth is burning, let's talk about new products and services.
because
The Earth is on fire, but let's talk about new iPhone.
yeah, that seems to be the way of it. So I guess start with the regular 15 and
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I wrote about the normal 15, so I'm qualified to talk about this.
are you?
No one else has. No. So yeah, iPhone 15 and 15 Plus are here. Um, Almost everything with the rumors was right. There were some differences, but uh, just like before, the normal one is I think 6.1 inch. Yeah, 6.1 inch screen. The Plus is 6.7 inch. Plus has a bigger battery because it's got more room for it. Other than that, they're pretty much the same, is my understanding. Um, they both have the I think it's 8A16 chip.
Mm-hmm.
The one
Last
that
year's chip.
yeah, last year's chip from the Pro, because Apple is now doing this
Yeah.
where we need to differentiate the products more. So the cheapo iPhone gets last year's chip, which is like it's stupid, but it's fine. Like their chip from 5 years ago still like spank squawk comes so hard, so it's fine.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, not that it's exactly the same thing, but I literally just had a conversation with someone who was asking like, what do I need in a MacBook so I can run DaVinci Resolve? And my response was literally, look, I'm not even thinking about upgrading to the M3 because an M1 is doing everything I want.
yep,
And yeah, like there's no
yeah.
reason to upgrade right now.
Yep, I've got my M1 Mini right here. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at like the Mac Studio or the M3 Mac Mini and been like, "That's kind of cool. I can literally not justify this in any way. I can it's
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
Like, if you need to make an upgrade for an actual
Right.
reason, especially if you're like
Right.
on a
It
pre-M series chip,
yeah.
okay, I can see a reason to buy the
If
latest thing. Go
I
for that.
right.
But
Yeah. If I suddenly change careers and I'm like working in video or 3D rendering, sure. But I don't. I write words on the internet and sometimes edit audio.
yeah.
Um,
So
so
yeah, the phone chip is really in the same boat. There's
yeah,
You're not going to really ever get a tangible difference in actually using the phone. You're not going to feel that difference.
yeah. So screen size is the same. Kind of the big design update is that this now has the dynamic island from the 14 Pro, which is the replacement for the notch, where it's now like slightly inside the screen more, and it turns into like a little status overlay thing when certain things happen. You
They
can have like
love their
five.
animations.
They love it. Um, the screen is a little bit brighter. They're saying it now goes up to 1600 nits. I'm not sure what the. Okay, they said peak outdoor brightness. I'm sorry, peak HDR brightness is 1600 hertz, but peak
Nits.
normal brightness out nits. Peak outdoor brightness is 2000 nits, which is twice as bright as the previous generation. Apple says, so that's neat.
Um,
Still, metal and glass sandwich. Still got two cameras. Um, the main rear camera is now 48 megapixels, so they I think quadrupled it. Um, but it's doing the like
it's
pixel
pixel
binning
binning,
thing,
yeah.
yeah, that every phone does. So, but Apple
Which their
says,
presentation, let's just quickly call this out because this was a common theme in the presentation. Like, really common. It's amazing how much it happened. They announced something that is actually like a very old thing, and they basically just use different words to explain the exact same thing. They went out of their way to re-explain pixel binning, which has been
right,
around for so long it's comical.
yeah, like in this press release, they say using the power of computational photography, the main camera gives users a new 24 megapixel super high resolution default, offering incredible image quality at a practical file size ideal for storing and sharing. Yeah, again, same thing that like budget Android phones have been doing for like 5
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
But
this is extremely old strategies and technology. And it's not even like it's new to iPhones. Like, it could be a thing that Android phones have been doing for a long time. But in this instance, like, it's even stuff iPhones have been doing. So yeah, there's nothing. They spent a lot of the presentation really hyping up old reused things as if they're new, which I expect that from Google. I don't expect it as much from Apple. I don't know why, because Apple's done it before, but it was more egregious this time than usual.
yeah, so better cameras, better screen. The satellite stuff can now do roadside assistance. It's kind of cool. Um,
The
do,
roadside
do, do.
assistance thing, part of me wants to give them credit for doing this because it's something that they obviously should have. I was kind of surprised, honestly, that it wasn't already sort of there with the previous announcement because it just made sense to have it across the board. But hey, okay, this is a thing. One thing that does get me though, just competitively speaking, I find it interesting that Apple is taking sort of this slow building approach where they're slowly adding new things that you can do with a satellite and very minimal communication. Meanwhile, Google, Samsung, and Qualcomm, well, I guess mostly Google and Qualcomm, but I think Samsung's working on this too. They're trying to just leapfrog Apple right out of the gate. Like, all the things that they're working on are going to be far more advanced than anything Apple's announcing today. And sure, we're not getting those features today, in Android phones. But when they do launch, they really are actually going to leapfrog Apple. I'm very curious how that's going to play out, and
Yeah,
if it
that
will
is.
work.
Yeah, that I am. I think I wrote about. Wow, I got like something in my eye. But I did write about Qualcomm's announcement when they were talking about their satellite connectivity the first time, and yeah, like their approach is like much closer to like those like cellular hotspots you can buy. We're like, yeah, it's just like internet. Like it's really slow internet, really slow texting, but it does work.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm very curious how that works out. Mostly because there's far more cooks in the kitchen with that technology stack. Because Qualcomm announced the technology, right? So they're building some of this. Qualcomm's not actually launching satellites into space. That's a different company. So we got two. And then from the sound of it, again, none of this is in any phones right now, so we don't know. But from the sound of it, it looked like this would be a technology stack that the smartphone companies would have to build a finished product on top of. So we're adding another layer to that. And then it's hard to know how the I don't know, I guess capacity will work with some of these solutions because Samsung, for example, sells an order of magnitude more smartphones than Apple. So how would that might be more difficult to get the satellite connectivity working well, especially if they're doing something that's higher bandwidth. Um,
To be fair, I don't think you would necessarily expect it to be in every Samsung phone.
oh yeah,
Probably,
sure, yeah,
probably
yeah,
still aiming more towards the flagships, but yeah.
right. Same as Apple, yeah. Um, so yeah, it's gonna. I'm very curious how that works out, because I think number one, Apple's winning here because this is very dirt simple. It's just like they built the phone, they built the most of the software for this. They did not launch the satellites into space. That was another company where they've now bought like 80% of that company's satellite capacity for iPhones. Um, but this is a very like classic Apple like cohesive experience, whatever. Um, so interested to see how that works, or if those maybe Apple can upgrade that satellite system later on, with help from the company actually building the satellites. Because also alongside this, there is also uh, SpaceX and Starlink working on their upgraded Starlink satellites that are supposed to also work as like nodes for T-Mobile phones, right? T-Mobile
Mm,
announced a
yeah.
partnership where the satellites are supposed to be like little mini cell towers that can work in emergencies. Again, none of that is live yet, so we don't know how it's holds up. Um, but I don't think those satellites. I know that functionality requires a new Starlink satellite, or not? Is it Starlink or is that something else?
I don't know for sure, but I feel like I remember Starlink being the topic of this at one point.
Okay, I think it was Starlink. But yeah, like that's another like different approach to this. So I'll have to see like yeah, it is Starlink. Okay. Yeah, so I have to see how that all shakes down. It's gonna be interesting, and like I do think that's probably the most interesting shift in like communications I see happening right now. Not just because I like space and space is cool, but not to be completely depressing, but it feels like the number of events that make ground-based communications go offline is increasing.
It's a fair assessment, yeah.
So this kind of stuff seems like it's going to be more necessary as time goes on. So it's good we're trying with this, and of course it has the side effect with like this roadside assistance feature where the at least in the U.S. Our network infrastructure still has a lot of holes in it that satellites turns out can be a backup.
Oh, I can't wait for the bring back a Project Loon.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah,
There's like
so
there's like an earthquake in California, and the Google opens like this giant barn on campus, and just a bunch of balloons fly out to give everyone Wi-Fi.
I mean that's not that crazy. It's probably
No, I mean
there probably is actually a secret initiative in Google to be like, yeah, if the day ever comes that things go really bad, our employees are protected.
yeah, they activate the dome around the Google
Yeah.
headquarters, and they activate the Google satellite. Yeah,
Uh, Suddenly they're
It's-
like,
it's-
see,
it's-
see, aren't you glad you're not work from home now?
yeah. It's exactly like I think it was Avengers: Age of Ultron, where you've got like Tony Stark's giant satellite in orbit that sends down the like the Hulkbuster armor.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
god.
Google's got it. Google's got a big satellite in orbit too. On my webcam, just forgot how to focus. Okay. Yeah. So
Everything's broken
iPhone-
today.
Yeah. Everything's broken. My brain's broken. But other obviously USB-C on the iPhone. We finally got it. Joe, we did it. We got USB-C on the iPhone. It's it's great. Of course, some catches.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the base iPhone 15 is USB 2, which
Yeah.
is silly, but like, that is another thing. Really, I want to criticize Apple for it, but if I'm like being totally honest, most people will never know that. Like, most people are not even like hooking their phones up to like computers anymore. Maybe they notice with stuff like maybe video output, or maybe someone will come along with like a really great this also depends on like how much can be used with that port. Like, can I plug in a USB-C flash drive and it'll work immediately like I can with my iPad? Maybe someone will come up with a killer use for this, where it now becomes very obvious that the USB 2 is too slow. I do think that if you're selling a phone for at least $800, it should just have USB 3, but like I understand, like, this is a thing that does not impact many people. You can save a few pennies or whatever. I don't even know if it saves pennies, honestly. I don't know how this works. I don't know if the USB Emporium wants higher fees for 3.
So, all right. Here's a few thoughts and what I know. First off, my understanding is that yes, licensing cost for USB 3 is higher, but it's pretty trivial at this stage. I mean, yes, it would cost more per unit, but would it be that much? No, not really. And at the scale that Apple is making these, let's be honest, they would get a sweetheart deal on the pricing, because they're easily exceeding the like the highest pricing tier in
Right.
units shipped. So they would get a great price. They could do USB 3. It's not going to hurt them. And by the way, there's a weird way in which it could even help them. As crazy as this is, they don't, to my knowledge, I don't think they actually sell enough Macs with USB 3, or actually technically Thunderbolt 4, but I don't believe they sell enough Macs where they get the best pricing on USB 3. So if they were to start shipping phones, they would actually decrease cost of Macs. It'd be a small thing, a very small thing. I mean, we're talking incredibly trivial at that point. But yeah, it actually could marginally save them some costs in another place. With that said, there were rumors also that I'm not sure who started these rumors, because wow, they shouldn't have. But there were rumors that the phones were going to come with Thunderbolt 4 instead of USB 3. And some people were pretty disappointed by this. I don't know whether or not I really agree with that disappointment. I think that might be pushing it a bit. But just for clarity, the difference would be USB 3 tops out at 10 gigabits per second. Thunderbolt 4 tops out at 40 gigabits per second, so it would be 4 times faster at max. How much this matters, I think, is trivial at best, because I don't know of anything in an iPhone that can transfer more than 10 gigabits per second anyway. I could be wrong. Maybe the flash storage is incredibly fast. I doubt it. Maybe the cameras can generate enough data to overwhelm 10 gigabits per second. It's possible, but I doubt it. Now, I will grant this, I bet if you're trying to move data off the phone while also having a live feed from the camera, okay, you might actually overwhelm the 10 gigabits per second. At that stage, you're probably going to lose some speed on the data transfer. But that's pretty minor. USB 3 is fine. Thunderbolt 4 for other technical reasons would still be advantageous, but if it costs more, I'm okay with this one.
Right. Like, I think part of the equation there could have been, like, if Apple wanted to take the Stage Manager feature on iPad and make an iPhone dock thing. That probably would have benefited a lot from Thunderbolt, if for no other reason than just big high-res screen. But there's nothing on that front. So I would like faster than USB 3, because I know for a fact when I get this phone, I'm going to copy all my music and everything to it. It's going to take a very long time. Anyway.
Again, I really don't know that the flash storage would keep up with it.
Is USB 2?
Oh, USB. Okay, you're talking about the regular iPhone. Sorry,
yes.
I forgot you're not getting a Pro.
No,
yeah, no. The fact that they put USB 2 into the base iPhones is appalling. That is an actual insult to people.
It's very it's silly. I'm still gonna buy it. It's silly.
Yeah. Well, realistically, and I think it just bears saying it. Everyone should just plan on using Wi-Fi, because it is faster on an iPhone than USB 2. That is a sad truth.
And I mean, like, I wish it was there, but, like, if I'm being honest with myself, I plugged in my iPhone SE into my computer like 3 times to copy music, and that's the only time it's ever had a data connection. Well, except CarPlay, but that apparently is also fine on USB 2. I wonder if I wonder if that makes CarPlay a little bit more versatile, if it can be on a USB 3 connection. Like, because some of the cars that especially Apple's been showing off have, like, the CarPlay, like, spread across, like, 2 screens. I don't know if that maybe needs more bandwidth or not. I don't know how much that matters.
Yeah.
Carson asks, is the Pixel USB 3? I would assume so.
I'm looking right now just to be sure. Well, it includes a USB 2 cable in the box. Of course it does.
We're on the Pixel 7, right? The 8
yes.
has not come out.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Pixel 7 Pro, trying to find... which, lovingly, they have such terrible information on the actual phone.
Yeah, GSM Arena says 3.2, but it's GSM Arena, so you gotta double check it. I've caught them with their pants down a couple times.
But yeah, I believe it is. It should be at least 3. It may be higher, may not be, but it's at least 3.
Yeah, Samsung's been 3 for a while.
Yeah,
a couple generations, because they were also doing the thing for a while where they were USB 2 over Type C, but now they've got 3 on the flagships, and I think most of their, like, mid-range stuff too.
Oh, I don't know how I missed this, but yeah, okay. Here's the section: buttons and ports, USB Type C 3.2 Gen 2. So official.
Okay. I think that means it's 3.2. Because the 3.2 Gen 1, I think, means it's USB 3. I think that's how it translates.
Maybe. I thought it was...
It doesn't matter.
I thought technically USB 3.2 Gen 1 was actually 3.1 pre-rename, but maybe it was 3.0 and then I see that's the thing. I hate the USBs.
It is they
IF,
find a
was
new
it,
way
or
to fuck it up. Yeah, USB IF. Yeah,
yeah,
they're
I
full.
hate them.
The
Truly,
new one, the
hate
newest standard is USB 4 version 2. They're just fucking with us now.
them. I
They're
know.
they're laughing up a storm over there wherever these sick people live.
There is actual drug usage going on in the USB IF,
Yeah,
and
it's
not
true.
the
I
good
want
stuff. We're talking like crocodile. They're using
yeah
the stuff that actually makes your limbs fall off.
yeah.
That's why they
So
needed
yeah,
plug and play.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, USB C on the iPhone. The base one has 2. The Pro has 3. But also, no matter which one you get, the USB C cable in the box is 2.0.
yes.
That's also kind of silly.
Yeah, so their whole whining thing about oh no, you're gonna have to throw away all your lightning cables. Well, guess what? Look at how many people are gonna be throwing away the cable that comes in the box with the Pro so that they can go buy a good cable.
Right.
I mean, come on. And at the price of the Pro, you really couldn't have included a cable that costs like an extra. I think to go to USB 3 for a cable, the cost to Apple would have probably been somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 12 cents, 15 cents.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dumb. They
And yeah,
they're contradicting themselves left and right on this stuff.
yeah. So yeah, again, like the lower speed is silly, but I'm happy. Um, that was the one thing I've said for months. That's all I care about, and it's there. I can officially use the same cable with my laptop and my Switch and my phone and everything else that I was already doing before I bought the iPhone. Before I bought the iPhone SE, and I go back to that lovely life. So yeah, that's pretty much it on the base iPhone 15. Um, I will say I have pre-ordered an iPhone 15. You cannot pre-order yet, but you can like do most of the checkout process. So I've done that. I'm just gonna get the basic bitch black one with the base storage because I filled up half of my 128 gig SE. I don't think I need more storage. I think I'm gonna be okay. Um, and I ordered from Amazon. Spigen got all their stuff up yesterday, so I ordered the same exact like their I think they call it liquid air like this case. I bought this for like 5 phones in a row. It's just it's fine. It's fine. I don't like any of the like one thing I'm realizing with iPhones is that a lot of the cases are compromised by the fact that they keep putting a cutout for the Apple logo on the cases. It's like no, that's your one job is to cover the phone. You're not covering the phone. So thankfully that this one does not have a cutout for the Apple logo in the back. So I got one of those. I got a screen protector, and I will be reviewing the iPhone 15 for How To Geek, as a matter of fact. So I have to remember before putting on the screen protector, I have to take like 50,000 photos. So.
Well, hooray for that. I wish I were going to be doing a review of an iPhone, but so it stands, that won't be happening.
Yeah, I'm buying the iPhone 15, and then I'm thinking after I sell this one with the cases and everything, this won't end up being too expensive. Because again, now that I'm in iPhone world, resale values are great. I don't actually end up losing that much money. Um, Hoping I can just keep the 15 for a long time because it seems like that's what people can do with iPhones. Especially now that supposedly this one is built to be taken apart from the back now for faster battery repairs. so you don't have to take the entire phone apart to replace the battery. So,
Woohoo.
uh, yeah, I'm still not going to replace my battery. That's insane. I can barely build a Lego set, but I can pay someone else to do it, and there's a lower chance of my phone breaking. So that's cool.
Well, that's
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Diablo said, "Can't wait for no one to say you got the iPhone charger. Oh, you need the Android charger." Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, that's going to be happening a lot. Oh, that reminds me. That actually reminds me. I believe, and I could be wrong on this, there was actually one other important difference on USB 2 versus 3. To my understanding, USB 2, at least according to spec, though USB 2 allows a whole lot of fuckery with the specs, according to spec, you can't actually transmit as much power over USB 2.
Oh yeah, I think what was the
Which ultimately means that you're going to be charging your iPhone slower than if it were Pro.
well, I thought I saw the charging speed was, I want to say it was the same for both of them. I think it was 30 watts.
I don't believe it's that high.
I will.
I know I looked this up yesterday, but my memory of it is just completely shot.
Okay, so here's the iPhone 15 tech specs page on Apple's website. Do they say charging?
Okay.
They don't say the speed on the specs page.
Well, I've got it for the Pro. I haven't pulled up the regular one yet, but for the Pro, the MagSafe wireless charging is up to 15 watts. Regular Qi wireless as at 7.5 watts, and let's see, fast charge capable up to 50% charge in around 30 minutes with 20-watt adapter or higher. So presumably, it
Yeah,
caps out at 20 watt.
yeah, language there is a little bit weird. That's on the Pro as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is possible that they're just throttling.
Yeah, I mean, like again, the like super fast charging thing is kind of a myth anyway. Like every time, you know, like Samsung sells a phone with 45 watt or whatever, it really does 45 watt for like a minute, and then it goes back down to something really low. I would expect 30 watts on the Max at least, though, because I think that's what Google does, right? Google's 30 watts over USB.
I believe it's, for some
Or-
reason I have 27 in my
or
head, but I know 30-watt charger is what they sell. So I would assume it's in that neighborhood. And yes, it is true. The max wattage that a lot of these companies advertise is never really what you're getting long term, but you do typically get it until at least one cell is filled. If it,
okay.
because
Austin said it's 21 watts and 23 watts for the Pixel 7.
oh, okay. Regardless, yeah, I think they probably are throttling it somehow or something. But again, the key point is they could have allowed a higher wattage if they had gone USB 3 on the iPhone, or I'm pretty sure they could spec wise.
Yeah, yeah. This is another thing, like the USB level, where I'm like,
It probably doesn't matter.
99. It probably doesn't. Like if I'm thinking like myself, I intentionally use like really fucking slow USB charging brick because I setting my phone on the charger overnight, like it doesn't need to fast charge and like make the battery get different. It's fine. It's like a 5 watt Qi charger or something. It's fine.
Yeah.
But you know, again, in emergency situations where maybe you only have access to power for a limited time, yeah, fast charging would be nice.
Yeah, I'm fully on board with the reasons why some people sometimes need fast charging. I do tend to think it I feel like this is one of those things though that a lot of companies advertise pretty heavily, and in reality their customers will never use it, and it's actually generally harming long-term battery life.
Yeah, I you know, it'll be funny. is like not implemented this exact way, but kind of do something like Tesla does, where they will unlock the higher capacity of the battery in like emergency situations. Like they have a switch in the. I know if I say this, it will not work, but have a switch somewhere in the iPhone that's like, I need to fast charge the fuck right now.
Yeah.
Stop it. Now I know saying that why you can't have a switch, because then every like YouTube channel of tech review or whatever would be like, here's the one weird trick to make your iPhone charge faster all the time, and then people would be like blowing up their iPhones. So I
Yeah.
know why that is not a good idea, but like something adjacent to that maybe seems like it'd be potentially useful. Again, Tesla does it by deciding which, disastrous events they will allow you to overcharge your car during.
Yeah.
So
And to be fair, you better not be in Ukraine when you need that.
yes. Um, so iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max, we've got the big chungus phones.
Oh, yes.
I speaking of big chungus, I forgot. There is no more iPhone Mini. Also related to this, Apple stopped selling the 13 Mini, which was their last like mini flagship iPhone, because they didn't do it for the 14. They went back to doing. I don't know if the 13 had a mini, a normal, and a plus. I don't remember, but
Yeah.
for the iPhone 14, there was only a regular and a plus, and they've done the same thing now. So Mini's fully discontinued now. You can still probably, someone's got stock of them somewhere, but that was the
Yeah.
other thing that Apple did.
Well, we all kind of knew that was happening too, but there were
Yeah.
so many reports that the Mini was just wildly underselling compared to the others.
Yeah,
So,
it wouldn't surprise me at all if it comes back, but it's like a 2 or 3 year cadence, like SE. Like, just we'll update it when we feel like it. We'll make a new one. Um, I will say, like, maybe that will be the next SE. Is like full screen SE, no more Touch ID, because part of the reason why I'm like ready to get off the SE is I like the size of this phone. Again, historically, I like smaller phones because when I need a bigger screen, I can just use a different thing. Um, and I like the Touch ID a lot. It's really nice. But this is fighting a losing battle.
yes.
Is this form factor, because when you set up this phone and the SEs before it, the default scaling is really small because it's trying to roughly match the normal iPhone. So I'm like squinting to read words, and my eyesight isn't that bad yet. So I
Minus.
I yeah, I turn it up. I did the thing that every old person does on their iPhones, and turns up the text size and the UI size. And so now it's like a normal size. Now the issue is that no one is testing on this form factor anymore. No one no one is testing on not just small phone, which is already like a deviation from the norm, but small phone with an even smaller real size in terms of the UI. Like, I can't tell you um, how many websites are broken or have like horizontal scrolling. Like, like I remember when The Verge rolled out its new site initially, it was like completely broken. Like, definitely no one tried that on a small iPhone. They eventually fixed it, but like there's a lot of websites like that didn't work. Some apps behave really weirdly. Like, I can't open the Discord emoji panel when I have the keyboard open. I can't see anything. There's no there's not even like one row of the emoji visible that I can scroll past. The YouTube app works really weird on here. When I'm on like I can go to when I'm on like a channel page. So Cody, if I go to your channel and then it's not going to do it now. But yeah, so like on this, if I try to scroll from like up, there's like half of the screen is not a touch target for scrolling because it's not tested for this. So like if I like start dragging on your description and nothing happens, or like up here, I have to like find where the touch target is. And it's really bad when people have longer descriptions here where I'm like, all right, which one of these 7 pixels at the bottom can I start to scroll past?
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of stuff like this where I can really tell I'm on the edge of what people are testing for, and it's inconvenient. So um, the iPhone 15 is like pretty close in physical size, which is what I care about more. But it's got the bigger screen, so I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. So
So, so yeah, that's the issue with like if Apple made another SE. I think it is like actually getting to the point where it's gonna be hard to make these work with like how smartphones are designed in this day and age. So probably need to say goodbye to this 16 by 9 screen with the bezels on top. Again, as much as like it's functional, like I like that I have somewhere to hold the phone that isn't just like the edges, and the Touch ID is nice. I do have the Touch ID, but it's getting hard.
yeah.
Okay, Carson did confirm there was the 13 mini, 13 Pro, and 13 Pro Max. So there's no plus of the normal iPhone.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't get me wrong. I know I'm definitely not the type of person who would pick up the mini anyway. I've used smaller phones. I've used larger phones. Generally speaking, I vastly prefer the larger screens. So maybe not exceedingly large. I've used phones that I think are maybe a little too large, but I have big hands. I can reach. Even on my Pixel 7 Pro, yeah, I have to do shimmying, but I can reach across the screen using just my thumb, holding it one-handed. Like, it's not that big of a deal for me. So, yeah, and we lost Corbin again. Which, not that it's important, but I'm also working on trying to fix that weird white line. Again. Welcome back.
Welcome.
So yeah, I'm not the target customer, and the fact that I wouldn't be buying a mini is probably part of the reason that they stopped making minis, because a lot of people I think are in the same boat. But yeah, overall it is sad to see it go, because I do know a lot of people who want them. So
I'm sure it will come back. This is gonna be like 3 or 4 year cadence. Because
yeah.
it's not the demand. Or again, hopefully that's just the new SE. It's just like smaller iPhone 15. Maybe they can cut something. I would hope Apple could make a full screen iPhone now without that's like kind of budget. But who knows if they want to do that.
The thing is, I think they still might not want to, because there's a lot of people who are still kind of stuck on having the classic home button, but we'll see.
So yeah, iPhone Pro, it's
A17 Pro is the chip this time.
New chip just dropped.
New chips and dip. Yeah, it's upgraded. Watching the presentation, it had very much that sort of, we really want you to feel like this is exciting, but we're just basically telling you that we added a few cores here and there and not much else happened, which is kind of it's a thing. Like, it's good that they're doing it. It's not exciting though.
Right. And yeah, it's got a titanium build now, which makes it lighter. There's a lot of camera stuff. I didn't pay too close attention to the camera stuff because I was writing a different post during this part of the presentation. The Pro was someone else's job to write about. But it does have some camera upgrades. One of the things they were showing was that, like, sort of in combination with the USB-C port, they showed off like recording in like the Pro Raw whatever format to an external drive in real time. Um, and they showed like pictures of like a fully decked out camera studio, but they were using an iPhone, which looked weird. Like I don't like I know that does happen, but like feels like maybe not as often as maybe Apple would like.
Uh, it's funny because there's a lot of conversation about this specific aspect, and depending on who you ask, you get all kinds of different opinions. So, oh yeah, here's one of the things I also wanted to hit on. So, being rigged up the way that, if you're talking about the image, I think you're talking about you're let's see, you're looking at the newsroom Apple
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
iPhone.
yeah.
So,
I saw it in the presentation, but I do
okay,
see that
now if you
it's the
scroll,
same thing here.
okay, if you scroll down, you're talking about the one where it's kind of a red image and the
Yeah,
phone is on a big tripod.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this is actually not that crazy of a rig. In fact, I think that's, I could be wrong, but I think that's Moments rig. Um, I wouldn't say that it is super common, but it is also not super rare. It's not unheard of. But yeah, there is something to be said for the fact that uh, Apple is probably doing more, like setting the phone up to do this stuff, than most other people are. But people have been kind of throwing around this topic for a long time. There are more and more people making real movies using iPhones as the camera. We're not talking about a lot of blockbusters, obviously, because every one of those people wouldn't consider using anything other than an ARRI Alexa. But at this stage, you know, there are people shooting legitimate documentaries with iPhones. There are people shooting smaller feature films on iPhones. There's, of course, famously, Steven Soderbergh has basically said, screw big cameras, it's all iPhones from now on. Um,
Right. Definitely not trying to like gatekeep like oh you're not a real whatever if you're using an iPhone. But that just struck me as a little bit weird. But if I was in Apple in this situation and I did just announce a phone with a lot of nice cameras and USB support, yeah, I'd use that as an example. That's there's not a
yeah,
lot else to do with that port because Apple won't allow many other kinds of things.
yeah. Um, so, and they did highlight, and this actually I think is a little more impressive. They did highlight that Capture One, which is software for like raw image processing. The best way to describe it is it's Lightroom, but actually good. Um, Anyone who's ever used Lightroom, if you tried Capture One, you'll go, "Oh yeah, no, now I get it." It's just better. Um, anyway, Capture one of the big features of it is it supports uh, basically live tethered shooting. So you take a picture with your camera, it's tethered to a computer with Capture One running on it. The image immediately gets downloaded to the computer. You can start messing with it on the fly or just see it on a nice big screen, whatever. Like it makes in studio shooting way better. I don't use Capture One, but I do a few things kind of similar to this when I'm shooting my product photos, and it's so much nicer when you take a photo and you can look at it on your like ultra
Right.
wide screen. Game changer.
Yeah, that was also like I think when we talked about some of the like stuff Moment was doing, like that was a potentially really great use case for like their camera mount system for like iPads. Where like, yeah, this iPad has like an iPhone camera on it, and you can have a giant viewfinder for the
Yeah,
pictures you take.
yeah, 100%. So, yeah, this is neat. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what they were showing off, and um, I can only imagine the two biggest producers of lenses for smartphones or lens related equipment, Moment and is it Grip Gear? No, not Grip Gear. Oh my god, I literally just saw their latest spam email. Oh, who is it? Beast Grip. That's the name. And I've actually tried reaching out to Beast Grip to do a review of some of their stuff. Their PR is horrible.
I didn't even think about getting like a Moment case for my iPhone, because I still have I have my 2 lenses from them, but I think that's probably like because they've done like breaking changes to their design, or those lenses won't work well anymore because of the sensor changes.
Okay, so well, to chalk it up to sensor changes is kind of a Moment's messaging on this was very bad.
Okay.
It's not actually as much about the sensor changes as it is the size of the aperture.
Right.
Yeah. So the issue is the lenses and aperture have actually physically grown larger over time, and the lenses, the bayonet system that they have, and this would be true with any camera. Every camera's mounting system has this particular limit. The smaller you design it, the smaller the sensor or lens or whatever the adapter is, like, it limits how much can possibly go through there. And if you're using an add-on lens style of thing like Moment does, or B-Script is also doing this, the reality is, like, the smaller it is, the smaller the lens has to be. Otherwise, you end up getting, what is the word? Why am I suddenly blanking on it? I don't remember. Anyway, you get basically a dark circle in your images. The outer edges become darkened because they're getting literally blocked. And if it covers enough of the lens, it's not just darkening, it has actually a black space. Like, you just end up with a black circle around whatever it is you're taking an image of, which doesn't make the image less good. It just means that you have to crop out that outer portion.
So, like, probably fine, but yeah, like, ideally I'd have the newer lens stuff.
Yeah, that would be ideal. So now the lucky, well, air quote lucky thing for you is Moment is doing a so-called drop-in system for their cases on the iPhones. They're not doing this for Android. But on iPhone, you can order a case and it comes with basically a piece of plastic that covers where the camera section is. You can pop that piece out and put in a different piece, and that is, one piece is compatible with their new series, one piece is compatible with their old series. So I don't know how much it costs to switch them or any of that stuff. And I think you can just order the case with whichever one you want. But yeah, for the 15, in theory, you would probably want to go with the newer ones, especially because at least looking at the 15, I didn't check, but it looks like their main lens is gigantic. So I think you would definitely want to go with the newer lenses. Also, I'll just point this out to you and anyone else that cares. For
everyone else, turn off the stream. This is just private.
Yes. For roughly the next 100 and some days, I don't remember how long it is. Moment is doing a trade-in program with the old lenses. So if you wanted to swap the old lenses to the new ones, you can get a big store credit by sending in your current lenses and getting whatever's new. And as far as I'm aware, they're also doing a thing where basically if you or rather, they're not doing a thing, but you can take advantage of this system. Like, if you don't like one of the lenses you've got, you could just send it to them, and I think you just get store credit you can spend on anything. I'm not totally positive that's how it works, but I read the policies and it sounded like you just get regular store credit. So
Well, I'll I'll have a what did the Alexa go off? Yeah, I'll have a look around. I did just dig them out. I do have my uh, telephoto lens, which I definitely don't need a replacement for or anything. The iPhone just has that now. Um, and I do have my lovely macro uh, one that was so wildly impractical, but you know what? It was kind of fun. So I would like another silly impractical macro lens to take like pictures of leaves from 0.01
Yeah.
centimeters away, and have to do burst shots every time because my hand just holding the phone would cause it to be blurry.
Yep. Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of the macro because of the way it works. That said, I watched their announcement video specifically for the new macro, and it seems like they might have fixed some of the design issues. I'm not totally positive, but it.
I'll have a yeah. I mean, like I'm obviously I'm not ever gonna be able to replace my Sony camera with its macro for like review. 'Cause that would be my ideal use case is like not have to do the stupid like I'm transferring all my pictures back and forth every time for review photos. I can just do it more on the phone, but I know that's not going to happen. So
Well, I'm hoping one of these days you'll replace the actual camera body, but that's a separate subject.
yeah, well, okay. So I'll have to look at the moment stuff later because I like completely didn't even consider it. But they do have like all their cases and stuff up. Um, I didn't like again. I had the last time I had their moment stuff was on my S21, and that was when they just switched to the worst case. Worse case, not worst. But I do like this green moment case. They've got this olive green that looks pretty nice. I'll think about it.
I actually haven't looked at. Oh wow, that is very green.
Yeah. Good green. Also, that blue's pretty good because I still have. I still have their MagSafe.
Wow, actually, the maroon case doesn't look half bad either, or whatever color that's supposed to be.
So I've still got their MagSafe mount thing. That was pretty cool. Excited to use this again.
Oh yeah, no, their MagSafe mounting stuff was really nice. Let's see. I guess it's this one. Do they not have color options on the regular 15?
Oh yeah, I was looking at the Pro. It's the Pro Max. I have to use their search.
List
iPhone
black. Oh, okay, they do have it. It's just under different. Oh no, wait, that's for the Pro 2.
If I search for iPhone 15 and then click filter. Oh wait, it's not iPhone.
Okay, how about if looking here?
Corbin and Cody attempt to use websites.
Yes.
So now I see now they've got the lens mount as like a completely separate component. It's not just in the case anymore, or with these. I see. Because I was looking at their case initially, I was like, well, where do I put the lens?
Oh, I have bad news. I am almost completely confident that a regular iPhone 15 can only get the black case.
Oh, I'm so sad.
At least that's the way their picker thing in the starter kit seems to imply. Because if you pick any color other than black, it immediately pops over to the Pro models. And you can't pick otherwise. So yeah, I have a feeling you're kind of stuck. Yeah, that does suck. Also,
I'm gonna have to break out the spray paint.
Okay, also it looks like the main camera does not have a mount over it. So I guess I guess it's too big for a T-series lens. I think. Yeah, it must be. Otherwise, you'd think that
Yeah,
they...
because the drop-in lens mount says it's for iPhone 15 slash plus slash Pro.
Right. But...
Because it is over one. I see it's over one of the cameras, but is that the on iPhone 15 we recommend RT series lenses. Blah 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 blah.
Huh. But yeah, I don't see a bayonet system over the main lens in their pictures. So yeah,
So,
kind
so,
of.
so they're using the telephoto for the lenses, or
Well, the telephoto and the wide. At least that's the way it looks here, or the ultra wide. I think, unless I'm misunderstanding. Oh wait, actually, oh, hold on a second. I forgot. I need to switch back to the. Well,
what is
but those photos don't change.
The T series is the new lenses.
Yes, T series is new.
Okay.
M series is old.
I see. Yeah, because my little cute bags here do have a M on them. Yeah.
Oh wait, does this support? Oh wait, what the hell? Okay, this is different than the one that they show in the other. Okay, so I think the key point here is we don't know.
Okay, that's fine.
I'd have to look at this closer and actually like weed through details to be sure. So let's see. Maybe it is on the main, but not on whatever the other camera is. I guess
The
that's
other
what
one,
this...
the other one's just a telephoto, so I imagine that would be less useful for some
Possibly.
of these.
Okay, so anyway,
Yeah.
enough about this. We're focusing too hard on this. So yeah, my main takeaway on the cameras for the Pro, or rather the additional features, they definitely paid a lot of attention to that. I think it's very cool that they're working with Capture One to support this. That's great. There's a specific aspect of this that I found very, very interesting that they decided to call out, and I think this is actually really a big deal and will probably actually bring a lot of new people to using iPhones for making actual movies. Probably still more documentary level, run and gun types. It's not going to be, we're not going to see the next Transformers movie made on an iPhone. But one of the things that they highlighted, and I thought this was super, super interesting, is they announced that log color profile is going to be available on the iPhone. And they also mentioned support for ACEs, which I will talk about that in a minute. But for people who don't know, let me explain log. And sorry, this will get slightly technical in a weird way, but
I learned, but I did this in math, Cody. You don't need to tell me. I know what log is.
That's funny because actually it is vaguely based on that, but
I'm so smart.
Okay, so I'm actually going to start by talking about photos for just a second because I think this is more relatable. Everyone knows when you normally take a photo with a phone, you're probably just getting a JPEG. And I think almost everybody knows that if you want, you can switch over to also get a RAW.
Or a HEC.
Or a HEIF. I couldn't believe that the guy on the presentation just actually casually threw out, when you take a photo, you get a HEIF. And it's like, no, dude, nobody knows. No, only a few people understand that. Nobody knows what you're talking about if you just casually toss around the word HEIF.
Like, what?
But okay.
What's going on here?
Yeah, it sounds like he just stumbled over his words, but nope,
The
he meant
iPhone
it.
15 now with 100% more cow.
Heifers. No, anyway, so but you're getting you can get some kind of a raw image. Now, any person who has ever looked at these images in the file system knows they're also freaking huge. They're really, really large. Your typical JPEG is going to be like a megabyte, give or take half a megabyte. Right. Like, that's the territory you're looking at for most photos. A raw image at the same resolution is probably going to be somewhere around 25 megabytes. They're huge. They're chunky. Now, you can apply this same sort of logic when you're talking about video. A lot of video recordings typically are not done in a RAW format because, fun fact, they're massive. The video for RAW is completely unreasonable for most cameras to process, for most hardware. They do now exist. Like, you can get cameras that will record in RAW, and typically you can fill a terabyte in under 20 minutes. That's not an exaggeration. You can fill a terabyte in under 20 minutes recording RAW video. That's way too much data. And a phone would not be able to handle this. Like, the flash storage is usually not even good enough to handle this. So, most video is recorded in basically something equivalent to JPEG. And I could specify, like, it's done in certain codecs and things like that. We don't need to get into specifics like that, or I'm not going for that. The point I'm getting at is the benefit you get when you're shooting RAW with a photo is you're taking all the sensor data and recording it. And that means that you can process it differently. You can decide after you've recorded it how you actually want to treat the processing of that image. When you're talking about a JPEG, a lot of that processing has already been done. And the same applies with video. The thing is, people realize that recording video is really tough to do right. And at a certain point, they needed to figure out ways to make it a little less error prone, a little bit more sort of idiot proof. And one of the solutions that came along was, instead of processing all of your image data a certain way, what they would do instead is take the colors and smash them down to a smaller color space. And this is what log is about. Log is what's known as a flat color profile. It basically takes all of your colors, desaturates them, smashes them down into a smaller color space. And that way, when you get them back into your editing program, you can start processing it by first basically expanding it back out as much as you need to, changing your saturation levels, boosting the contrast, and you can basically get back to an image that's pretty close to what you started with. But with more flexibility for modifying it. And that's what's good about log. Now, the significance of adding this is interesting because technically you've been able to record in log on an iPhone for like 10 years. It's been around for a long time. In fact, Android phones have been able to do this. Go download, I don't send anyone to Filmic Pro anymore because the company that now owns it is absolute horseshit garbage. They're evil in their pricing model, so don't give Filmic any attention. However, there are other apps like ProShot or ProTake, I forget which. That's what I use a lot of times. There are others. There are plenty of others. They can record in log. And they've been able to do this ever since the Camera 2 API. Like, this is not new at all. And again, like I said, iPhones have had this for ages, or have been able to do this for ages. The reason this is significant that Apple's doing it, though, is because they're putting it into their own camera app. And as we've all discussed many times, one of the problems with Android phones is if you aren't using the default camera app, you're missing out on all the cool features that the OEM actually put into their camera app.
Right.
you lose out on that good stabilization. You lose out on all those other features. You
Yeah,
make similar
wasn't this
sacrifices on
the
iPhones.
wasn't the was it moment where we had the thing where they were making a Android camera app and they dropped it because it was too much of a pain to work with the camera APIs? Or
Uh
was that another?
yes,
No.
it was Moment that did that and caught a lot of flack for it,
Right.
justifiably. I would argue there was no reason to really use the Moment camera app for most of their lenses. Most.
Right. For the it was doing the like corrective stuff for
The
their like the more
anamorphics.
specialty. Yeah.
Yes, the anamorphic lenses had a de-squeeze, or in order to make them look good on your phone while you're shooting, they they're doing actually something kind of similar. They literally would squeeze the image down. The anamorphic lens is kind of shaped like a dome, so it records a larger horizontal chunk of footage. It squeezes it down to your sensor size, and then when you go back to an editing program, you de-squeeze it. Um, the but the Moment app supported a mode where basically you could just see what does this look like de-squeezed, and that way you could record the image and not suffer through staring at a weird squeezed image.
Right.
So it was really useful for that, but now there are other apps that do this. So yeah, you didn't need Moment went away and others just took over for them. But even Moments app didn't support a lot of things like image stabilization. It didn't have. I don't know that it even had color profiles. I think they were missing that, and other camera apps have it. So yeah, there were, it wasn't really that big of a loss to lose Moments app. Um, though people were furious about it. God, they were so mad. Anyway, yeah, so the fact that Apple's adding this, they basically, like, this is a big message to people who want to use their phone for making more legitimate movies. You can now do that. Like, you're not giving up some of the
Right.
features that you would have been giving up before because you needed to shoot and log. You didn't necessarily need the stabilization, or you didn't necessarily need these various other things. Now you can have all of them. And it's also really interesting that they specifically called out that this is the first smartphone to support ACES. Uh, ACES is the Academy Color Encoding System. I'm not going to bore anyone with the details on this. Short version, it is a color workflow. Uh, well, it is a full workflow where from the minute that you're recording to the moment that this goes into an editing program, it's a color managed system, so you can actually make your colors look really nice and do proper color grading. This is great. It's impressive that they're taking the time to consider things like this. Now for the part I'm going to shit on them for.
Okay.
This can all be done with an effing firmware update. You could put this on the fucking 14. No problem. This could go onto the regular iPhone. It doesn't need to go on the Pro. That complaint I had earlier about how they are forcibly pushing people to upgrade phones for no good reason, this is
Right.
it. This is the example. Every single person that bought the 14 Pro thinking, "Oh, hey, I can use this to make good movies. But damn, I wish I had these other features." Those other features are here now, and you're not going to get them, even though
Right.
a firmware update would fix that. Full stop. F Apple, they are intentionally doing this. Rant over.
Yeah, it's fair. Um, Especially this also is like very like white whale every time with the Pro models. It's like here's the iPhone 13 Pro. You can use this for professional movie making app. Here's the 14 Pro. You can use this for yeah. It's I think I've heard this one before. Then you get some new material.
Mm-hmm.
Also, while you were explaining things, I did find that page about the trade-in program, and Moment says I get 25 back per lens with just proof of purchase, and if I send it back, it's 50. So that
Kind of
seems
thought it'd
like a
be.
pretty that seems pretty good. If I send these two bad boys in, get 100 buckaroonies, that's
Almost
get
the
one of
cost of
their,
the new lens.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, get one of their new kit things. I'm sure all that will be not on sale anymore by the time that's all said and done, but that's okay.
Um,
Or I wait for another sale. Probably not because I'm impatient.
Part of me thought that they. No, I guess you looked at it, so it probably would have been said if it was in there. But for some reason, I thought that they had a thing where if you were agreeing to send one in, I thought they gave you the credit up front and then charged you later if not, but maybe
Uh,
not. I might have that totally wrong.
yeah.
It's
I
been
mean,
too long since I looked at it.
I haven't, yeah, I haven't clicked the like get started button. That's just what's on the page. So maybe
Um,
I'll look at it later. But
yeah, and to be fair, if not, seriously, just reach out to them. I bet they do you a solid.
that's true. Get an exclusive on the space bar. Would you like to have your lenses shown on a newsletter with over 100 subscribers? That's an opportunity you can't miss.
Actually, really quickly, speaking of Moment, as if we haven't already spent plenty of time talking about Moment, um, I believe they're actually having trouble with their inventory on the new lenses because they were supposed to send out review units like 2 weeks ago, and I still haven't gotten my review units for sure, and I don't know if anyone else has. But they were also supposed to start shipping out the lenses last week. I think it was last week. Maybe it was earlier this week, but I'm pretty sure it was still single digit days, and we're now to the 13th. So, but everything on their site, except I think one lens, is still listed as pre order. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, I don't think that they have them in yet.
So the okay, so the T series are like new.
Oh, yeah, they're super new.
Okay, okay, I
Um,
did not know that.
yeah, so in all likelihood, that means the sales are probably also still not gonna end super early. Um,
Yeah,
and seeing as you don't seem to be using your lenses right now,
nope.
chances are if you get in on the trade in now, the sales will still be going
Yeah,
easily by the time you get your credit.
yeah.
I
I'll
would
look at that
assume.
later because I have to go to the post office anyway to go mail a old thing I sold on Swappa. So
Hmm.
I make a 2 for 1.
I need to sell some stuff on Swappa or somewhere. Uh,
I've been selling stuff for the iPhone 15 fund and the everything else fund because this year sucks.
I
Uh,
I just need to pay
sold.
bills.
Yep, yep. Sold the S21. I know I'm not going back to Android now. It's over. Friendship ended with Samsung. Um, sold that.
One of these
Got
days we'll get you onto Pixels.
like a, just full circle back to when I had Nexus phones that kept fucking dying after a year.
How?
Um,
I've
you,
never had a Nexus phone die on me. Or Pixel.
I had a Nexus 5 where the power button got stuck after like a year. Uh, Common issue with those phones. And then I had something else. I think I had the Moto G, and then I bought the Nexus 5X when that was new, and mine boot looped. As we all know, that's part of the Android police lore, um, including the fantastic holiday live stream. Which now that I think about it, I should put that on my resume. That was
Oh yeah.
that was a great professional achievement for me.
Yeah, and I know what you're referencing. So yeah, that actually would have been that would be a good thing to put
Look
on
how I
for.
bamboozled this everyone.
No,
I've already said
it's
I've already
almost
yeah,
it is almost meme like. So it
yeah,
applies.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think at least the people talking in the chat know, but the story with that was we wanted a way to boost the Twitch channel for Android Police. So I thought it'd be fun to do a holiday stream where I put my Nexus. I think it should still be on Twitch, but I put my Nexus 5X on a little stand with like holiday stuff in the background, and I just filmed it doing a boot loop. I thought that'd be hilarious just to have a live stream of the phone boot looping for like 9 hours on like I think it was Christmas Eve or something. I thought it was hilarious. Now, problem is that after like 30 or 50 boot loops, it actually booted. So like, now I'm fucked. So I just looped the video of it boot looping, and that was a live stream. No one caught on. Yeah.
Well,
as long as you avoid the like, no one from like 4chan doing like investigative work into like the exact light sources of the stream was watching, so it was fine. But I didn't have like a window in the background where the sun just kind of stayed in the same place for 10 hours, so I think I was
didn't you shoot it in like a basement or something anyway?
Yeah, I was in a basement.
Yeah.
The loop was like a minute. Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to go dig that up. That'd be fun to write about for the newsletter. It's just like, here's a silly thing I did.
I mean, hey, it worked.
It worked. Everyone had a great time. The chat on that live stream was great. I think The Verge wrote about it, or someone did. Nexus 5X boot looping.
Yeah, well, I remember that the viewership on that was just off the charts. It was ridiculous.
Here it is from 2018. It has the photo. Does the Twitch embed still work? Probably not. Nope. Okay, I'll have to go take up the link. But yeah, it was 2018. Random Christmas decorations that my mom picked out in the background. I feel like it's definitely someone else covered the live stream.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was The Verge. Could have been maybe Engadget or something like that. But
I feel like it was The Verge. But I did a Google search for 5X boot loop Christmas. I'm not seeing anything. Maybe Twitch 2018.
Maybe it was XDA and they deleted all the old articles.
Yeah. I think it's also getting confused because Nexus 5X is like a weird search term.
True.
Okay, I'll have to look at that later. It was the 5X, right? Yeah, it was the 5. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll look at that later. Anyway, so that was a fun thing.
So what else happened with the 15 Pro? I don't think we. How much do we get? I mean, we talked camera stuff.
Besides the cameras, it's like very much the same as the base. It's the cameras. The chipset is different. The action button.
Yeah, I literally was just about to say that.
Forgot about that. Yeah, so there's no
they murdered the Switch.
Silent Switch is gone. OnePlus was an early warning sign. It's gone now.
And in its place is an action button that is did they say this is, I believe, a real button, not a fake button with a haptic motor behind it?
It should be a real button.
Because there was at one point a rumor that it was going to be a fake button, which, sure, why not? I don't see anything wrong with that.
Apple's really good at the fake buttons. So
they are great at the fake button.
Great at the fake buttons, fake trackpads.
So yeah. Anyway, this is a programmable button.
Yeah.
You can map it.
It says the all-new action button replaces the single function switch used to toggle between ring and silent, offering additional options so users can choose between quickly accessing the camera or flashlight, activating voice memos, focus modes, translate, and accessibility features like magnifier, or using shortcuts for more options. So that's pretty cool. You have the ability to start a shortcut. You can do literally anything else because you can do a lot with shortcuts now.
And this is, I know there are people who are going to yell, no, there are so many phones with programmable buttons on Android. No, there aren't.
No.
At first, there aren't very many, and I literally had I dare say one of the most obnoxious, unpleasant people at Android Police tried to correct me when I said, "Ooh, this is neat. I wish Android had, more mappable buttons." Someone tried insisting that the last 3 generations of Samsung phones have this. Yeah, have you tried mapping those buttons?
Yeah, they have
Come
like
on.
5 options.
And they're terrible.
Like,
And
yeah,
some of them don't even work. Like, come on, get real. That's not really a thing. And you can try using other apps to do this. Samsung kind of locks that down. I don't know if they still are, but it's not good. So
yeah, the
and companies want to lock this down for no apparent reason. So let's not pretend that this is a commonplace thing.
yeah, the short. I don't know if like you can open an app directly with this action button, but again, with shortcuts, I think you can open an app.
Yeah, you
Again,
can.
like with shortcuts in there, again, like you can do basically anything. You can send like random like webhook requests if you want when you press the button. You can do weird smart home stuff. Um, I've used shortcuts a lot. That's a nice thing, mostly on Mac. But I do have like two on my phone that just like very quickly like jump to a certain web page or something. Um, and like I made a link cleaner a shortcut and then pinned it on my share sheet. So now when I share a link cleaner is like the first one that appears in that bottom section, and then I get a version free of all the junk that apps like to put in their share links. But
Oh, neat.
uh,
They down in the fine print, they actually note that Translate is coming to the action button later this year. That's kind
mhm.
of cool.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah, the action button. I'm bummed that's not on the normal one. That is like the main thing that I'm like. That's kind of cool. I wish I had that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Or is
So
it not on the normal? Yeah, it's not. So what's the extra buttons?
does the
Does this
normal
still
one
have it?
still have a switch?
It looks like there's something there in the picture. Because I see the volume buttons,
Oops.
um, and there's a power on the other side. So what is
Okay,
that?
that's still a switch.
Oh,
Or I think it. No, wait.
okay.
Is it? That might not be a switch. That looks like a button.
iPhone 15 action button. It does look like a button, but it could also. Um,
Okay, well, how about we'll just look on the product page, because where else would we look? iPhone 15.
okay, Mac Rumor says the standard phones have the. It's still a ring slash silent switch.
Okay,
So okay, kind of a bummer, but you got to be a pro to use buttons. So I understand.
I suppose so.
And then yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Um, they kept the prices for this the same, which was surprising. Like every rumor said this was going to be a $100, $200 jump. None of the iPhones changed in price. So it's good. I know. I think it's the Pro Max that is $100 more than the previous, but it's because they upgraded the storage, so now that starts at 256. So not so much raising the price as like eliminating one of the options. It's basically raising the price, but you know, it's not just we added $100 add on for nothing.
Yeah, and I gotta say, overall, just regarding prices, this year felt very much like the smallest refresh they could possibly have done on the phone. And it seems strange that when you're not doing much with it, the price goes up. That
I
didn't
mean,
feel like a good move.
yeah, last year, I don't think I don't know if they raised prices last year, but like the iPhone 14 was like the most iterative upgrade Apple's ever done on the iPhone, probably. Like it was literally just satellite connectivity, and we took the SIM card slot out. And that was it. Because that was also the year they started this like were doing the two different chipsets, but they couldn't go backwards with the chipset. So the base iPhone 14 had the same chip as last year. Didn't even get a new one. Versus this time, they're both getting a new one because there's now a ladder and set up for this.
Yeah. So, yeah, I find myself kind of just,
Oh, David has arrived. Hello, David.
hey, David. Yeah, I'm just feeling a. I feel like was a pretty uninspiring iPhone outside of the fact that it's USB-C. In a weird way, this felt very much like the year that they know a ton of people have been waiting on USB-C, and so why pack in a bunch of nice stuff on this model
Right.
if a ton of people are just going to buy the USB-C? And then in a year,
it's me. I'm the ton of people.
yes, yes. But in a year, I think we're going to see. Watch this. I feel like the 16 is going to be one of those years where they're suddenly like, oh, by the way, we heard you wanted more stuff. We're going to throw in all kinds of cool things. Like you're going to get everything you ever dreamed of. It's going to be next year because they're going to want all the people who upgraded to the 15 this year for USB-C to suddenly go, oh, I want that. And yeah, that I think is going to be the shift.
Yeah, I'm not. Again, like the yearly upgrades are so iterative. I'm not like really sure what they would do with something like that. It's like, what are you gonna change the design to? You're gonna move the
Thunderbolt
cameras
4.
again, like. Yeah. Oh, you know what? They could do the. I said earlier that they could do the Samsung Dex thing.
Oh, well,
Get a mobile dock. Most people don't care about that.
yeah, I feel like that's too minor for most people, but you never know. The thing that would make it interesting. Oh God. Oh no, I just had the scariest idea. The thing that could make that interesting would be if they then proceed to like cut a bunch of deals so that people can use it on like airplanes or something. Like create a deal so that all airplane seats you can just plug your iPhone in and you then have like a Dex set up in the seat. That would be a really cool idea. And it's something Apple could pull off, but Samsung will never do.
Maybe. I know also one of the things that kind of slipped under the radar with this one is that I don't know if I think it's all of them or maybe just the pros that the iPhone 15 has a thread support.
Yeah.
So there might be some interesting software applications of that come later. Um, I know they also were talking about it has the upgraded ultra wideband thing, and they were showing how like you could set up Find My, where like already on iPhones you can share your location with someone else, but in this special mode, like your iPhone will literally point to where the other iPhone is, like in the same room or whatever. So I don't know. Maybe those two things together, they can come up with something interesting. But this does happen with Apple a lot, where they kind of add a hardware thing first, and then later they figure out something that's kind of neat to do with it.
Yeah.
And also, all the I'm not sure if it's all of them, but one of the iPhones has a Wi-Fi 6E as well, which I believe is new. Another thing, I think Samsung did that with the S23, or maybe earlier, but that's nice too.
Huh. So, yeah, let's see. The other stuff. Not that there's a lot to say on these. They updated the watches. These were kind of trivial updates. Like I don't even want to say the interesting things, but it seemed like their focus was almost more on the bands and stuff like that. They didn't really make a big change that I recall.
Yeah, yeah. The watch it's just they have the new S9 chip in there, which I think is the first like SoC update they've done in a minute. Um, they in this press release they say it has a new four-core neural engine that can process machine learning tasks up to twice as fast compared to the Series 8. And they're also saying 18-hour battery life with that chipset.
Yeah, which there was definitely some talk inside the AP chat room, basically going, really, they're bragging about this? That does not seem like a
No,
thing to brag about.
that's normal.
Oh, they're doing the double tap gesture. That was the thing they were really trying to show off.
Yeah, they
And
did a promo video for that where you can
yes, they did.
like tap your thumb and your finger together to like do whatever the main action on the screen is. So like answer a call or turn off an alarm, whatever. Um, which like that video was very weird because half of it was like you're trying to sell me on this thing that like I can just tap the screen for, and then the other cases when they were like, yeah, you're like cooking something, you got shit all over your hands, you can just do this to like answer call. Like, okay, I get it now. I see the utility.
I mean, it's not like I don't see the utility. I definitely get it. I really wonder what the reliability on is going to be.
Yeah,
You know,
that's it.
we've
And
seen
also
things like this tried before, and they tend to be really, like they get a lot of false positives, and they also get a lot of false negatives. They tend to just
right,
not be reliable.
because we had this issue with Soli on Google stuff, um,
Yeah.
and to a lesser extent, I guess Connect. Like all these like sort of like camera based motion systems. Now this is different because
Oh
it's
yeah.
not actually there's not a camera involved. It's just like I guess checking how your hand moves because when
Well,
your hand moving it does move muscles in your wrist.
yeah. Arguably, technically, there is something camera-like involved
Right.
in order to measure uh, the pressure, the tension, whatever it is exactly that it's measuring.
A
I know they
camera's just
explained it,
another
and I
sense.
honestly can't remember. Um, but
They
yeah,
they say in the press release, the algorithm detects the unique signature of tiny wrist movements and changes in the blood flow when the index finger and the thumb perform a double tap. So
hmm.
they're they're looking at your blood.
So yeah, I mean that's good. It could be very useful. It might not be. This is one of those where we're really gonna just have to wait and see. I'm sure reviewers are gonna be jumping on this thing to test it because it's the only interesting thing that happened to the watch this year. I would say the rest of it was just not really a story. Um, let's see. The AirPods, effectively zero change except they switched to the USB-C charging port. Did I miss something? I don't think there was any other part to the announcement.
The AirPods Pro, um, there was there. This was one of the weird ones where it seemed like initially it was literally just the port, um, but it's now come out that like you can't just buy the replacement case like for existing AirPods Pro, and that is because there are other changes to these
Mm.
earbuds. So I want to say I'm gonna do a quick search for what The Verge has written about this because I know I saw some stuff from them, but I don't remember exactly what it
Well,
was.
Apple is mentioning that apparently lossless audio with Apple Vision
Yeah.
Pro is a thing. They say that there's an improved IP54 rating on the earbuds and case, so that's, I guess, a little better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Verge has repeated most of that. They said the AirPods Pro before now had IPX4, so now it is IP54. Um, yeah, Lightning to USB-C. And this is Apple's first wireless earbuds with the lossless support, which may I remind you is not on the like $500 headphones they made like a year ago. That also have a Lightning port. So if you bought those, you're just
Yeah.
you're you're just you. I don't. I'm sorry. You backed the most wrong horse Apple sold at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Um Yeah, all things considered, this is, yes, they made some changes, but it seems like they were maybe. It feels like maybe the AirPods and AirPods Pro just were. This was like in like mid season update kind of thing. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like they probably were working on other stuff, but we're like, you know what? We really should just release a USB-C model of this. Let's take the few things that we can just casually do as updates, and we'll push all of it at once.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I could be wrong, but it just fits. It doesn't seem
And
like they were really aiming very high with this model.
yeah, and I am bummed that there's no USB-C regular AirPods. I gotta wait a little while for those. Um, I said before I'd really like those. I did go through. I put all my. If anyone wants my used earbuds, they are on Swappa. Um, I promise I clean them a lot. That I I know those are gross, but so clearing out all of the in-ear earbuds, I now understand and can accept that do not work with my ears, and eventually I will get USB-C AirPods.
All right.
But yeah, so yeah, a couple of small differences there, but yeah, nothing big. And then also there was the new Apple Watch Ultra, which is an even more iterative upgrade. Um,
Oh yeah, I didn't
really,
even pay attention to that,
yeah,
or
it
rather,
was.
it didn't really click with me at all.
Yeah, this is just they're taking the guts from the Series 9 and putting it in the Ultra. So it's got the new chipset. I believe it has the same. Yeah, it has the tap gesture. The screen is now brighter. It goes up to 3,000 nits, which is 50% brighter and the brightest display ever shipped on an Apple product, apparently.
Yeah, I
So
believe that.
should
For reference, because I think a lot of people just don't really pick up on this. Bear in mind, a lot of Android phones top out at like 800 to 1,000 nits. So,
yeah.
and some definitely go a little higher than that, but most don't go too much higher than like 1,200. So, to Apple's credit, their screens do have a max brightness that is just way higher.
Yeah, this is getting to the point where like the little silly like flashlight app on the watch is actually like a flashlight.
Yeah,
It's gonna get pretty bright.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, other than that, it's pretty much the same. It's still a big chonker watch. It's got a big knob on it. Um, Supposedly people use these for scuba diving. I don't actually know if they do, but that's what Apple says.
I'm sure, why not?
And yeah, and no price increase on this either. I guess that's good, but again, like if you bought one of these before, there's like zero reason for you to upgrade, um, unless you really want that silly gesture that might not work well. We don't know yet.
Yeah. Um, it's also just amusingly, they had to call the new chip inside the Ultra 2 the S9 SIP for whatever reason. And then they had to say it out loud, which just made it all the sillier.
So,
Uh,
that one guy from USB back at it. He's,
oh, probably, yeah.
he's up to his old tricks again.
Um, yeah,
And yeah,
so,
David said there's been little to no reason to upgrade the watch. To be honest, I've been sitting on it for 6 years, maybe to the Ultra. Yeah, I mean, like when I started converting to Apple Shill, um, I did look at like what the watch options were, and I almost got the Apple Watch SE, but that does not have an always on screen, which seems really silly considering my Android Wear watch from 10 years ago had always on. Um,
mm-hmm.
I don't care that it uses more battery or whatever. Like I know I'm not looking at it all the time, but there are the times when it's just like on my wrist and I turn it, but not enough to activate to turn on, and that's when I want it. So I just waited for the. I think this is the Series 7. I waited for this to go on sale. Uh, totally fine, no complaints.
Yeah. So
I think the main thing it's missing is like the car crash detection, like that kind of stuff that needs better sensors. But that's fine. I'll just tie. It's it's fine.
well, that's what you got
Theoretically,
your
my
iPhone
iPhone.
for.
Yeah, theoretically, the iPhone will save me from death.
Um, yeah. So, and of course, they also briefly talked up WatchOS 10, which I'm just gonna come right and say it. Until their feature is specifically custom watch faces, I don't care anymore. Like they've done most of the big stuff already. Now it's just, hey, we made workout apps ever so slightly cooler, but only barely because we already did most of the stuff. Everything else is just kind of like we're trying to sell services to you, a subscription
Yeah,
to something. And so until there is custom watch faces, I don't think they have anything else that they can do that's worth it.
yeah, and I know, like, honestly, for like a long time now, like I've been fine with where smartwatches are at. Like I understand, like until there's some crazy innovation with batteries, like it's not going to last more than a day or two, whatever. That's fine. It shows alerts from my phone. It does the very basic like fitness tracking that I needed to do. Totally fine. Um, if I was gonna like, I mean, yeah, I mean that's really it. Like I don't really, and that's also why the iterative upgrades make sense because like what else are you gonna do? And a lot of the watches, a lot of the improvements coming to the watches this year are just the watch os update. Like that's the big update that's like making widgets a bigger thing, and changing some of the ui and that stuff. So and that's coming to the older watches. So
Mm-hmm.
all good.
Um, and actually, while I'm at least throwing out the things that they should do, just as a side note, and I know that this is not really Apple's style per se, but they should really put a screen on the AirPods Pro. Just saying. I've been reviewing the JBL Tour Pro 2, and this thing has a screen on it, a touch screen, that is fucking amazing.
Oh, it's got like player controls.
Player controls, let's see, volume control. You can change the ANC settings, change the equalizer. You can set an alarm, which is an interesting one.
Mhm.
Spatial sound, brightness of the screen. You can change the wallpaper. And very importantly, oh, by the way, you can also get notifications, but they don't work very well. But most importantly, it has a flashlight mode.
Oh, there you go.
And I've
Perfect.
actually, I kid you not, one time I left a room, this was the only thing that I had in my pocket. I absolutely walked around using this. It's actually not a bad flashlight. It's not super bright, but if you're in a dark room, you
Just
won't
holding
hit things.
holding it in the center of your hand, like the Iron Man laser. Like I'm gonna look
Obviously.
around.
I mean, if you can't pretend to be Iron Man, what can you do?
What's the
Right?
point of technology, honestly?
Exactly. But
Yeah.
seriously, I actually think Apple should probably find a reason to put a screen onto an AirPod case, because
Mm.
they could probably actually do some really cool things with it, and I think people would probably be excited with that.
Yeah, I mean, and also like I imagine something that is getting easier just because there's more hardware in that case now. Like that part is getting more complicated. It's not just like a charger that has like extremely basic Bluetooth pairing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, like with I know, I don't know if it's just with with the AirPods Pros or the other AirPods, but like those also now have like Find My support, so like they're kind of like identified as a separate device in like all of your Apple stuff. Um, which I assumed was on all AirPods until I lost my original AirPods, and I was like, ah, finally, I can use this. Nope, no, I can't. It's like, oh, we last saw your AirPods 5 days ago. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not.
Um.
That's when I found out the AirPods went through the washing machine. And they survived. Incredible stuff. That must be what Apple was talking about when they were talking about like green technology.
Yes.
I can wash my AirPods.
That's exactly it. Let's see. So
Totally live.
so we also got this is a quick point, but we also got release dates for iOS, watchOS, and iPadOS, which we could just boil down to the iOS and variants. That's going to be September 18th. And macOS is the poor bastard in this. By the way, the 18th is next Monday, or this coming Monday. And macOS is the poor bastard here. It has to wait until the 26th, which is 2 weeks from yesterday. So anyone who is eagerly waiting on Sonoma, wait a little longer. Which honestly kind of seems fair, because I think a lot of people actually are looking forward to Sonoma, because game porting kit and a lot of other functional improvements that aren't necessarily exciting, but they're good improvements. So it seems like it'll be one of the better updates in terms of like stability.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and see. I know I was excited for like proper like PWA install in Safari. That's cool. Especially because it looked like it was handling or making them feel more native than like when Chrome installs a PWA. And also the potential for desktop widgets was interesting. I don't know if that's actually going to be something I'll enjoy. I'll have to wait.
I'm convinced that those desktop widgets are. I'm sure some people are going to be absolute like diehard advocates for them. They're going to love them. Other people, I think, are going to look at them and go, "Yeah, no, I will never see them. They will never pop up. I always have windows in the way, so a desktop widget is just useless to me." I am one of those people, so I am lodging that opinion now.
Just need dashboard back. Just bring it back, Apple.
Honestly,
had it right.
yeah.
You had it right in 2005. Just bring it back. You were right about a lot of things in 2005, but that was one of them.
Or how about with Notification Center? How about just making it like 2 columns?
Yep,
so that we can have enough widgets on there to make it useful. Because it sucks now.
Apple, I've got this ultra wide monitor, and you're using like a 1/20th of it over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it also occurred to me, we kind of forgot to talk about this earlier, but in the iPhone 15, is it just the 15? No, it had to be both. Carson linked to this earlier. The false marketing that Apple has for this phone is something. Link in chat. That way Corbin can dig it up without having to view what we're talking about. But yeah, they are making it seem like they're claiming, quote, it's like having 7 different pro lenses at the ready. And then they show what their so-called pro lenses are. This is total garbage. It is not even remotely true. They, in reality, have a 24 millimeter, a 13. We lost Corbin again. And a 120 millimeter. They have 3 lenses, not 7. 3. That's it. And it is basically a straight up lie. All they're doing is cropping the image. That's it. When you take any images at any of these other focal lengths that they're showing in this image that claims you also get a 28, a 35, a 48, and a macro, All they're doing is cropping. That's it. That Apple is just straight up lying in this marketing. Or if you want to say it, they're not lying, but they are intentionally misleading. So, oh, Apple has joined the ranks of every other camera company in doing shady stuff. Or, sorry, every other smartphone company in doing something shady in their marketing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's with Apple this year. It's the cameras. With every Android OEM, it's pretending virtual memory is something that it's not. Everyone's got the greatest hits.
Yeah. Let's see. So, two other things that noticeably weren't mentioned in this presentation. RCS. Did anyone expect otherwise? I know people did. For some reason, people thought RCS might get mentioned. It wasn't going to get mentioned.
No, like this isn't even like the iOS day. That was July or whatever that was. I don't remember anymore. Time's not real.
Well, in theory, I mean, this is still a phone event. They definitely could have, if they were going to launch RCS support,
Right.
they could have done it today or on Tuesday. They weren't going to do it. It's a nice dream. It's something we can hope for someday, but it's not happening. The other thing that they didn't mention, and I think we all kind of knew wasn't going to come, but there were definitely people who hoped it would, some sort of acknowledgement or commitment that the AirTag network would be somehow legitimately compatible with Google's Find My network. Because, as everyone knows, there was at least some amount of delay for Google's Find My network to get launched because of Apple. So we know that we know things are happening, but we don't really know what, and we don't know how extensive it's going to be, or if Apple's going to be crappy, or if they're going to collaborate.
My understanding was that it was delayed because they were getting the lost tag support to be cross connected. That was the whole, which we already knew that part. Like that was the thing where it's like, oh, the companies that was announced before Google's like I think all of their network stuff. Before that they were like, yeah, Apple and Google will work together to have lost track. The thing where when someone sticks an AirTag on you, it will tell you.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not about lost tags. It's about warning you that you are possibly being tracked or stalked.
Which, again, that was like such a big fuck up from Apple for like 3 years straight. I mean, it still is. Like,
it's an intentional fuck up, though.
It's a continued fuck up, yeah.
I'm still fairly convinced that it falls in line with the same sort of scare tactics that they're using with the watch this year. You know, if you're using an Apple Watch, then we'll save you from death. Well, if you're using an iPhone, we'll save you from being stalked by our own product. You know, it's that level of crappiness. So yeah, I do think that they did that on purpose, and they're delaying this as much as they can. But yeah, Google will be launching that network fairly soon, one way or the other. I'm pretty confident it's going to have to at least launch by their Made by Google event. Or, well, alongside the Made by Google event. But we'll see. Maybe they won't, because that seems like a thing Google could actually not do. So yeah. I didn't like I said, I didn't expect either of these things, but I think it still says something that neither one was mentioned. Is there anything you wanted to see from the event that they missed?
USB-C AirPods. I said that one already. I guess. I mean, I know like this wasn't really gonna happen, but it would have been nice for them to rip the USB-C Band-Aid off entirely here, like USB-C keyboard and the trackpad and all of their other stuff that's still Lightning.
I think that's all coming in probably a month.
It's gonna happen very soon. But like that would have been nice. Just say, like, all right, we're done with Lightning now. Like, please, that would have been cool. again, action button on the normal iPhone 15. That would have been nice. Um, I don't know what else. I mean, obviously, I still want boot camp on Mac, but that's not related to any of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I don't think my complaints with like Apple's mobile and accessory stuff is necessarily the hardware. It's like a couple very weird things with the software that I still don't like compared to their equivalents on Android or uh, yeah, Android or Wear OS. Like I haven't used it yet, but the implementation of widgets on Wear OS is kind of weird. Like it's like like a vertically scrolling list. I think what Wear OS has makes much more sense, where it's just like a thing that takes up the whole screen. You just scroll horizontally. Um, I wanted definitely there's more stuff that I wanted in iOS 17 that did not make the cut. Uh, Notifications need a complete overhaul. Just copy Android. Just
Yes.
copy. Ideally, copy Android from like 5 years ago. That was peak. That was peak notifications.
Yeah.
Um, like that is like the most bizarre design decision with iOS, where they have decided that the notification tray and the lock screen are the same interface element.
Mm-hmm.
And like I can like kind of sort of get that, but it seems like the worst solution to this.
Yeah.
Because when I'm using my phone, right, and I'm like, I wonder if I have any notifications, and I scroll down, like half the screen is taken up by a clock. I know what time it is. I was just looking at my normal phone interface where it has the time at the top. Why is that there? And I know now it's because we have these custom lock screens. You can see like your pets or your kids or family, whatever, on the notification tray. I don't want that there though. I want my notifications to take up the whole screen. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff like that. I don't think I really have any complaints with their hardware besides like wish it was cheaper, I guess. Um, I wish if I guess it'd be nice to have like a new iPhone mini that was more usable than an SE, but honestly, like I think I'm okay to just go to a normal size phone at this point anyway. Just because the battery is still an issue with the smaller ones. Like that was a repeated complaint with the iPhone 12 mini, was that the battery life was really bad because yeah, it's physically smaller. Apple cannot defy the laws of physics. So
Oh, tell people, careful telling people that they will dox you. Um, let's see. Uh, one thing, one thing that not stood out to me, but I guess I was just hoping that this might change. But the iPhone 15 did not change their strategy with SIM cards. It's still eSIM in the US and SIM cards outside the US.
yeah, that's still weird. Especially because like as long as they are doing this sort of split hardware thing, like they can't use that space for anything. They're not developing different like internal boards and layouts for the iPhone for the US versus everywhere else. So like in the whenever someone took apart the iPhone 14 from last year, like where the SIM card tray should have gone, it's just like a blank space in the phone. So they can't even like do the thing of like, oh, we made the battery bigger. It's like, no, you fucking did. It's just it's empty space in my phone.
Yeah, they're sort of just. It feels like the laziest thing for what is a sellout move.
Yeah, like again, I'm sure eSIM. I've not had to use eSIM yet, so that's another thing that will hopefully go okay. I don't have to go to customer support for anyone. That's another thing where it's like, eSIM obviously has some advantages. Just have both. Just have both in the phone. That'd
Yeah.
be nice.
Not that it's super important, but I was just kind of digging around at other news, and turns out that Olivia Rodrigo did a music video that was filmed on the iPhone 15 Pro. So, and I'm watching the video now. They actually did a really good job on this. Like, it looks legitimately good. So, I won't show anything because who knows what what content ideal snatch up. But yeah, this is a pretty solid looking video, all things considered. I'll link it in chat in case anyone wants to go see that. So yeah, I gotta hand it to them. The camera for video is great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having a competent phone camera again, because I mean the SE again, like in normal daytime, whatever, great camera. I don't have a complaint. Really struggles in dark, and because it's only one, I have not been able to use any of like portrait mode stuff. So
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
Yeah, I would love to get an iPhone 15 Pro so I could mess with the camera, but yeah, it's not in the budget. It's not, and I don't really have any way to make money off that. So yeah, it's not happening. Maybe next year. We'll see what happens. Let's see. So you've already said you're spending pretty much all your money on Apple this month. You're getting the iPhone 15, basically the base model. Did you say you were getting new AirPods? No.
No, I'll get them when they have a regular AirPods that are C.
Okay.
Not the Pro.
And you are getting a watch?
No.
No. Okay.
Nope.
So you're just on for the phone.
Yep. Just the phone. I was briefly looking at their cases. They're so expensive. I'm not doing it.
No, don't get an Apple case. They're overcharging. It's ridiculous.
No. It's exactly like their you know what? I for a brief moment I drank the Kool-Aid and I was looking at their iPad covers that like flip around. You know what I'm talking about, the iPad covers that can tilt, like sit at an angle, but aren't like a case, like they don't wrap around. I was like, those seem kind of cool. I'll try one of those, which are like really expensive, but one was on sale. Absolute garbage. I don't know why Apple makes those. It is like the magnets holding that to the iPad are so weak, and like it doesn't even like stay aligned properly. So I'm glad I bought that from Amazon because that was an almost instant return.
Yeah.
Nope. Just buying the phone here. Everything else is hunky dory.
So, yeah, like I said, I'm not getting anything. I'm still debating if I'll even be getting a Pixel 8. So we'll see on that one. I'd like to, but I just don't know that that's affordable. Let's see. So yeah, I think that's about all I had on the event. Did you have anything else?
I don't think so. Oh. Gotta talk about the dongle. Did you see the dongle?
The dongle. Is this the Lightning to USB-C dongle that's $30?
Yeah.
I have seen it mentioned and pictures of it, but
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. I was gonna say I don't have a link immediately handy.
Wouldn't be a Apple event if there wasn't a weird
overpriced accessory.
Over right? Like, it's not weird this exists. Like, this is like what you should do because a bunch of people bought those like lightning only headphones and other stuff. So like, yeah, you need to make this. Why is it $30?
Yeah.
And also huge.
Yeah.
Like now it should not be like one continuous brick because then that puts all the pressure on the ports if something happens, and that's how you snap your phone. But the two components of this are this is a chunker of an adapter. This is looking a bit like that like VGA adapter a little bit.
Uh, I don't know. I mean, when you think about the proportions of this, yeah, they probably could have or should have made the lightning port side of it a little shorter, but not by much. I have a feeling that when you're handling this thing, I bet it's a smaller than it seems. Because I don't think I've seen any pictures of it like in real life. But
it might be fine. I'm just making fun of it because it's $30.
And we should make fun of it for being $30. That is gross. And I'm convinced that Apple just charges this much because they're the first ones to get all this stuff out. And so when people start making copies of this, which it's not like there aren't already copies of this, or sorry, other versions of this, and have been for years.
Yeah, I was looking at Amazon to see if anyone had made this, because like there are, you know,
there are
the iPad
headphones.
already.
There are headphones that have lightning plugs, and some people would want to plug those into, let's say, a Mac.
Right.
So obviously,
And-
there's a reason
and-
for these to exist.
Yeah, and the iPad already went through this transition, and it
Yeah.
seems like there isn't. I saw a lot of Amazon adapters that were the other way around, which was
That makes
mostly
sense.
intended for like using a USB-C charging cable with an iPhone.
Right.
Which I actually I have one of those, but it's for micro USB. Here, it's this little guy. It's got a lightning port on one end, and then it goes in the micro USB. This is what I use to charge random things, because I can't find my lightning cable, and for the past couple months, I've been like, no, I will not buy another lightning thing. I know this is coming. I refuse.
Oh, I wish I had that option. But yeah, this is. I mean, yes, it's a necessary evil. But yeah, I think they're just gouging for the sake of gouging. It's just like they came out with USB-A to USB-C when the various MacBooks came out. Like there was one of those. Also $30. You can go to Amazon. Like it wasn't much later. You could go to Amazon and buy like a 2-pack of similar plugs or adapters for something like $3 to $5. You know. Apple is overcharging. It's plainly obvious. So yeah, it's kind of awful. It is. I don't know. Do you have any other?
Nope, it's just silly.
Okay. Let's see. Since we have briefly talked about Thunderbolt in this episode, we should also note there was some non-Apple news. There's now Thunderbolt 5. It exists. It's real, kind of.
Yeah. So yeah, this dropped the morning of the Apple event, and part of me was like, is this because Apple is going to announce something today that has Thunderbolt 5? It'd be silly if they put it on the iPhone, but would there be like something else? No, didn't happen. So this was just unrelated. Don't really know why Intel would do that, because like this is like a, kind of interesting thing. It's not like oh shit, we're laying off another 10% of our workers. Let's announce this while everyone's looking at Apple. Yeah, so Thunderbolt's been kind of weird, because if you remember, USB 4 was basically Thunderbolt 4, because Intel made it effectively an open standard in the form of USB. I know there's still some differences, but so for a while now, Thunderbolt's like, it still obviously exists, but it's no longer like the only option if you need high-speed bandwidth. And now Intel has updated Thunderbolt, and the main thing here is that it is no longer 40 gigabits per second. It was on that for a while. It's now 80. So that is the same as USB 4 version 2. So latest USB and latest Thunderbolt are now evens. That's good. We got that far. Um, no, what is unique about Thunderbolt now is that it has an additional mode Intel calls bandwidth boost, which goes up to 120 gigabits per second, but only in one direction. So primary use for this would be very high resolution monitors or a lot of monitors, right? You can have a
Yeah.
Thunderbolt hub. Um, so that's great. It's backwards compatible with everything. So Intel was saying that it fully supports USB 4 V2. So a Thunderbolt 5 port would also be a USB 4 V2 port. It has DisplayPort 2.1. It has PCI Express Gen 4. That's also new. So potential upgrade for external GPUs. It has double the bandwidth of Thunderbolt networking for PC to PC connections. There's some other like minor upgrades Intel has done to try to boost like existing cables and sort of improve that, because the main one of the main headaches with Thunderbolt is that number one, you need a really good cable because of the increased bandwidth, and also the length of the cable matters far more than it does with USB, because you start to get signal loss
Yeah.
after not too long of a cable. So that's how you end up on Amazon, and you're like, why is this cable like 5 inches long? It costs $200. Like
Yep.
that's why. So Intel says that Thunderbolt 5 uses a new signaling technology called PAM3 to deliver the significant increases in performance with today's printed circuit boards, connectors, and passive cables up to 1 meter. So
Up to 1 meter.
1 meter. So if your cable is shorter than 1 meter, should work better. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, the PCI Express upgrade is big. That's going to double the data throughput on PCI. So potentially, not a lot of people using those external GPUs, but the people who are using them will be excited. And this obviously has like all of the backwards compatible versions of those standards. So your older GPUs will still work. You can plug in literally any USB thing, it's going to work. DisplayPort, all that fun stuff. And Intel says that the first products using its Thunderbolt controller will be available in 2024. Maybe other ones could come before that. Apple developed its own Thunderbolt controller for M1 and newer. So maybe they'll have an upgrade at the same time, maybe before. Maybe they'll take a long time. Who knows? That could be one selling point for M3 whenever they get around to that.
Could happen. So, yeah. I mean, I don't think most people are even really going to become aware of or make use of this for a while. But, for I think in all likelihood this is really going to factor in more for like extreme professional use cases. Obviously it's going to matter on like video or like movie sets or major production locations. It might even matter in like concert venues and things like that, where you really just need to move huge amounts of data, and instead of having big batched cables that are like tied together and bundled, you might be able to replace them with one small cable. The length, I think, is going to be the big stopping point for most of that, though. You're still going to have to rely on big bundled cables to go over longer distances. But, this will also be relevant for, obviously, things like anyone who really wants to run a bunch of monitors, high-res monitors with high refresh rates. This could be a thing. I don't know how much it's going to matter, though. Because you'll also basically need to have monitors that support this, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works with the backwards compat.
The one positive here is it, Apple at some point, maybe not with the MacBook, or maybe not with the M3, but I could certainly see it with the 4. I could see MacBook Pros, they might just do the whole like, look, one cable can power all your monitors. Not literally all, but you know, 2 cables maybe.
Yep.
And yeah, that I could easily see them making a marketing push just on how cool it is that they can do that.
Thunderbolt. I still have never used Thunderbolt. Like I've had a bunch of computers that have supported Thunderbolt. I think 3 and 4. Never used it. It's always just been a glorified USB port.
I am trying to think of any time that I've explicitly used it. I don't think I have, but I'm not really sure.
Because even this like hub thing, I got this hub initially when I had my Surface laptop, because that of course had like one USB-C port. This little Anchor guy is just like $50. It has a bunch of USB ports, and also what's cool about this one is that it has a power pass-through for the USB-C. So this also works with like Android phones for display output. That's kind of cool. But yeah, this is just USB. So I'm not driving any huge monitors. I've used this with like a 1080p external monitor before. That's it. And I don't have any fancy 4K monitors or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure my monitor doesn't hit the refresh rates or resolution to warrant Thunderbolt. Or I doubt it does. Yeah, I don't know that I can't think of anything that I'm doing that would likely have involved Thunderbolt. I mean, it's possible and I just don't know it, especially if it's like an older version of Thunderbolt, not 3 or 4. But I don't know. Okay, so hit the last topic real quick and then we'll wrap it.
Get out of here. Yep.
All right.
Go take a shower.
That's actually exactly what I'm gonna do too.
I will not bring the camera in there before anyone asks. I know that's what you're all thinking.
Yeah.
Cody will though. Cody will. He'll keep the stream up.
I mean, I do have 2 action cameras that are waterproof. I'm just saying, like, it actually would make sense. I'm not doing it though. Anyway,
Cody's like, this is those hot tub streams I've heard so much about, right?
this is how people are making money, isn't it?
Just the most unflattering angle possible in the shower.
I don't have unflattering angles, sir.
That's true. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Microsoft is taking WordPad out of Windows. Yeah, see, I love that you were like, wait, what the fuck is the last topic?
Look,
The
that
one
was
you
like
gave me.
that was like 8 hours ago. I started this. So
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know everything on this one, so go for it.
Yeah. So for the entirety of Windows' history, it's always had like a text editor, and there's always been like Notepad for like plain text, and then WordPad was a little bit more advanced, and then kind of in like the Windows XP, Windows Vista era, WordPad turned more into like a Microsoft Word Lite. Like it's, you could use it for like a little bit more advanced stuff. You're not making crazy documents for it, but it's got rich text formatting. It's got like the printer layout, all that fun stuff. And they really haven't. Microsoft hadn't really touched it since like Windows 7. Like on Windows 11, you go back and use it. It's got the ribbon toolbar and everything. That's completely unmodified. And a little while ago, I think this was in Windows 10. Was they were experimenting with like a pop-up that showed that it was going away and they wanted to use Microsoft 365 instead. They didn't go through with that at the time, but now they have. So the newest Windows 11 Insider builds say that WordPad is no longer being updated and it's going to be removed in a future release of Windows. And they say we recommend Microsoft Word for rich text documents and Windows Notepad for plain text documents. Now, Notepad has actually received quite the overhaul in the past like 2 years or so. They redid the UI. It's got auto saving now, really fancy. Uh, but Notepad is still in the operating system for free.
Yeah.
Microsoft Word is not. You either have to use that in a web browser, which means uploading your document to the cloud, or you pay money for the Microsoft 365, and you can use it locally. So this, especially in the context of everything else Microsoft has done with Windows recently, where it's increasingly a launch board for them to sell you other things. Uh, this feels like another one of those in the context of everything else happening. Um, WordPad was like, you know, it's just a cool little free app. Like it wasn't that crazy. They could have updated it. Honestly, I think it would have been smart of them to just merge it into Notepad. Um, this is what Apple does with TextEdit, right? On Mac, TextEdit is a plain text editor, but there's a button and it switches to being a rich text editor. Um, and then it's like roughly comparable to what WordPad was. I think WordPad had like a little bit of extra stuff, but like could have done that. That wouldn't have taken much extra work. You already redid the like front end for Notepad and added a couple more things. But yeah, it's another weird decision in Windows, and I've written about a couple other kind of examples of this, and the one I'll see if I can find it. I wrote about how the widget panel in Windows 11 is just a complete dumpster fire. But yeah, there's just a lot of examples now of what, and I'll probably write like a different thing about this at some point because I haven't like had the opportunity to like fully dive into it. But Windows 11 is like incredibly frustrating of a product because there are a lot of parts of it that I do like that I think are like huge upgrades over Windows 10 and earlier. Like like there's parts of it that are really good. Like to the point where when I had the Microsoft Surface laptop, I was like, this is really good. Like I like using this. This is way better than Windows 10. And then there's like all this other stuff where it's so much worse, right? Where it's like every time I boot up Windows on my gaming PC, it's like, hey, do you want to back up everything to OneDrive? Why not? Why don't you want to do that? Don't you want to back up everything so then your OneDrive becomes full and then we bug you to pay us more money? And then there's the widget panel, which I wrote about how it kind of started off as like just normal widgets. That's kind of cool. And then the widgets got pushed to the side so that they could have like a Google feed like level thing, except it's like MSN, so it's 100 times worse than Google feed, which is already bad. Like what finally got me to write this article is that I was in my gaming PC and I
Corbin getting canceled again. Coming back? Coming back, bud? Where you at? He usually is back after a couple seconds. Okay. I'll try messaging him. Okay, real quick, I'll try refreshing my window. Yeah, no. All right. Oh, here you are. Good.
Okay, I don't know why incognito mode worked.
Huh.
I joined the call. You were in there, but you were not talking.
That's weird.
Okay, Jitsy's having a day. That's fine. But yeah, as I was saying, there's just a bunch of really weird stuff in Windows 11, and this is another one of those decisions where like this one doesn't matter too much because like if you really need this, you're just gonna download LibreOffice.
Yeah.
What I meant in the article, I'm like, don't pay for Word if you're using WordPad. Like LibreOffice is fine. That's good. That's good software right there. But it's in combination with everything else where I'm like, okay, I see what you guys are trying to do.
Well, not that it's the same thing, but it's sort of like every time I come across like a job listing or something where they want your resume in Word format, it's like, no, I'm good. I can go find other places that aren't going to be ridiculous. And this, yeah. I just don't see a reason for paying for Word unless you're actually going to actively use Word all the time.
Well, in my case, I bought the Microsoft 365 subscription for the very cheap cloud storage, and like, oh, I get to use Word too. That's cool. I guess I'll use Word sometimes.
Yeah, you have a little bit more of a reason for it in that context.
Yes, I do have the super special boy friend of a Microsoft employee discount.
That too.
But even with that's what I'd be paying for cloud storage right now, because that's like the cheapest thing that like is cross-platform ish. Because before that I was paying for Dropbox, which was way more money.
Oh god, it really is.
For a worse product. And then there's like iCloud, which only works with Apple stuff and is also expensive. And then everything else is like weird companies I don't trust with my files. So.
Okay, so actually, I'm gonna quickly dumpster on Dropbox, and it's not even like a big thing. This is something pretty normal, but it irritates the crap out of me so much. There was, or over the years, I collected a lot of data in Dropbox, and through like referrals and various like bonus moments, whatever, I've accumulated a fairly large amount of free space on Dropbox. And by large amount, it's not like huge. I think it's just somewhere in the neighborhood of like 15 gigs or something. Maybe it's not even that much. Whatever it is, it's enough to be useful for sure, but not a huge amount. Anyway, it was filled to something like, I don't know, upper 80% of capacity. That's not crazy, but it's enough that Dropbox just kept emailing me like 2-3 times a week saying, you're about to run out of storage, you won't be able to sync your files, this thing's going to happen, and your file system's going to stop syncing, and blah blah blah. And it's like, you're really effing irritating. I'm so tired of this. I don't know how long it took a lot of time for me to finally give in on this. I'm finally like, fine, I'm going to go delete a ton of stuff. And so I got all of my photo backups off of there, which I needed to do anyway. That's fine. I got all that stuff off of there. And I think, okay, this will make Dropbox finally stop harassing me. Like a day later, I get an email. Hey, we'd love it if you try this thing. We want you to try that thing. Oh, why don't you fill up some of your storage with this thing? And it's like, screw you guys. Screw you guys in the special hole. Like, I am so close to just banning, blocking, eradicating Dropbox from any last corner of my life because they are so spammy.
Yeah.
And yes, I have tried unsubscribing. For whatever reason, they don't think unsubscribing makes sense if you're... Granted, I don't know if the recent marketing emails are unsubscribable. I haven't tried those, but I've tried unsubscribing from the other stuff, and no, they definitely kept sending it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Dropbox for a little while, mostly because when I was like fully in Linux, that was like the only thing that
Yeah.
liked Linux, and like even then, they didn't really care all that much. It was a little bit hacky sometimes, but um, yeah, I mean, it's my main issue with them was always like their accounts starting at a terabyte. It's like, what the fuck am I gonna do with the terabyte? I don't. I I'm like getting. I have now a terabyte in my OneDrive, and I'm getting close to like a quarter of that filled with every single picture I've ever taken, and like the project files for Tech Tales. Like it's taken me a while to get to that, but Dropbox starts at a terabyte, and it's like crazy expensive. Like Microsoft does too, but it's cheaper. So
Yeah, it's a lot
and
cheaper.
yeah, I will say I do miss the thing from Dropbox where I can request files from people, and it just gives me like a file upload form that'll just dump whatever gets put there in my Dropbox. OneDrive has that, but only for corporate accounts, which stinks. But besides that, like Dropbox, it doesn't is not amazing.
Huh. Yeah. So I don't know. As all things considered, I actually need to go through, or I want to go through and just clean out all the cloud storage things, because I kind of don't need I don't need stuff stacked in any of them anyway, or not large amounts of stuff. It'd be nice to go through and just make a lot of it disappear. So I'm probably I don't know when or if I'll ever actually get around to that, because I have other things that they demand my time much more than this does. But yeah, I'd like to just make Dropbox go away. I'm probably gonna wipe out OneDrive pretty soon too, um, and that'd just leave me with Google Drive, which is kind of hard to avoid at this stage, at least for me.
Yep.
But I could cut how much of that I'm using by like half, so that would be easily good enough to make me happier. Besides, I keep getting the same "you're near capacity" warnings from Google, which is really dumb considering when you have like over 10 gigs free, they probably shouldn't be whining at you that, oh my god, you're about to run out. No, I'm not. I'm really not. Like,
I paid you for all this.
yeah, if I were to keep going at my current rate, it's still going to be like a year before I fill that up. Stop nagging me. Warn me when it's actually close to running out. Don't warn me, this far in advance. I'm not going to fill it up. Anyway, shall we call it?
Yep.
All right. So, hey, and Corbin made it all the way to the end on one of these. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Well,
I feel great.
so before we do the wrap, is there anything you'd like to plug, mention, propose, argue for?
I did write a article on my newsletter. I will put the URL in there. I wrote a explainer about Google's new privacy sandbox, because that was getting a lot of it. That was like one of the few times when I something like sort of rolled out, and then there was like a steady stream of like social media posts and like TikToks about like how to disable this. And I was like, these are telling me to turn it off, but they're not really telling me like what they do accurately. So I was like, I should be right about this. I know what this is. So that explains exactly how much or little you should be terrified of this feature, and also when or if the features are coming to other web browsers, which is also missing from most coverage of this. I did some investigative journalism, as it were, and hopefully doing more. I One of the things that was interesting writing about this is that I have no idea where Microsoft stands on like the main component of this, which is the thing where it like tries to figure out what topics you are and tells websites about it. So I did email Microsoft about it from my work email because they're not going to respond to my personal email. So if they answer back, that can be a How to Geek article, and then I'll just reference myself. So yeah, good times.
Corbin getting sneaky.
Stream.
Uh,
Making content.
yes. All right. Well, Jitsi is just having a day. What the? Jitsi is.
He's fighting back today.
It is. So yeah, I don't know what's going on, but hey, we're finishing up, so it's solid. Anyway, that is the end of the RambleCast for today. Thank you all for coming by, hanging out, being part of the stream, chatting with us, and keeping us chatting. I hope for those who are planning to order Apple stuff, good luck, because, well, just good luck. It's expensive stuff. But if anyone would like to support the channel, and hey, if you're buying the Apple stuff, I have faith you could do it. Hint, hint. No, I kid. Anyway, there are links down below to Streamlabs, Cash App, and Patreon. Support is always welcome. It does keep the channel going. And huge thanks to those who have either subscribed or contributed. David, Carson, Austin, and Diablo for the subscriptions, and Curvy for the recent donation. Thank you all. And I should be back this weekend with some game streams. Obviously some Fall Guys, probably a little bit of Overwatch 2, and who knows. Oh, also, I promised, and believe me, I very much need to deliver soon, I will be doing some photo edits. No schedule has been set. They will just happen kind of when they happen. But with that, I hope you all an excellent rest of the week, and I will catch you in the next one. Good night, everybody.